Wolfpack, what is going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of Roto Street. RotoStreetJournal.com. We breed and feed you fantasy wolves here with your Week 12 sit starts. I cannot believe we are only 3 weeks away from the fantasy football playoffs. The wins are at an all-time premium. You have to get them this week. You got to get into the big dance, and then anything can happen. So we are going to dive into all the big news just from the jump. It is a crazy running back week with lots, and this is the time of the year where the chaos happens, whether it's injuries, whether it's depth chart promotions. I do have an article at rotostreetjournal.com talking about some of the biggest news and notes between Sean Tucker, Bhayshul Tuten, and of course, Emanuel Wilson. So if you want to deep dive into those guys, we'll talk about them today, no doubt about it. But as we're getting the mailbag filled up, if you want to have some light reading, that is up there as well. Of course, the rankings are up there as well. But we are going to dive into all of your sit-start questions after a few Thursday Night Football takeaways, after a handful of news. Again, at the running back position, more important than anywhere else, but plenty of news otherwise. Godwin in and tons of news that I did not expect. So we've adjusted the rankings on the fly. They are live and updated at rotostreetjournal.com. We're going to update them throughout the show based on your sit-start questions. That's why I love doing this, to make sure you guys help me think through, would I actually play this player over this player? The way I have him ranked might not reflect how the gut feels when the questions come, the bullets start flying. So I love that you guys always get these questions in. Of course, if you want to support your boy, just like my man Robbie, so kind, so generous of you, tossing in a $10 super chat before we even get the show going. $7.55. Robbie, thank you so much for your generous support. You do this each and every week. It is not unnoticed. It is so greatly appreciated, my man. Thank you so much for that. Anybody else out there willing to support your boy, you can cut the line with a super chat. A free way to help me out as I get to Robbie's question is that thumbs up button. It helps us get out to more people. The thumbs up, the heart, all that good stuff. The heart on Twitter, the likes, the shares, the retweets, it all helps us grow. We've had some 4,000 live viewers, 300 plus question days this year, and we'll keep the good times rolling, hopefully, in week 12. But my man, Robbie, thank you so much again for your super chat. I really appreciate it each and every week. You are so kind and generous. Thank you so much. Tight end Pitts or Juwan Johnson? If we had Michael Penix playing, this would not even be a question. It would be home run, Kyle Pitts. We just move on. The fact that Kirk Cousins is playing and he just looked so bad the last time out really does have to give us some pause as to which player we play here. Plus the fact that Juwan Johnson and his, which is crazy, rookie quarterback Tyler Shough is his college roommate just a few years ago, I believe, over at Oregon. Like, it is crazy how old Tyler Shough is. And ultimately he was a college at minimum teammate, I believe roommate with Juwan Johnson. And we saw in their first real game together, Juwan Johnson and Tyler Shough really light it up. I'm just going to go down to the exact stats. I know there was like a heavy, I was shocked at the ultimate production. He had 15, that was standard. So we're looking at, just want to get the scoring right here. Full PPR, I see that, Robbie, right there. So 19 points, tight end 3 in his first game with Tyler Shough. And then Tyler Shough did come in week 9 for most of that game. He also had 12 points. Juwan Johnson, 13, 10, 12, and 19 across his last 4 games. You're making me reconsider. I have him at tight end 15 right now, and I definitely need that to be higher here. I knew he had a good rapport with Tyler Shough. I did not know it was that good. So I'm going to be bumping Juwan Johnson up as we speak, Robbie. Now, I don't think it's going to get – I'll just kind of spoil it here. I don't think it's going to get above Kyle Pitts. Granted, though, I do want to pull up – all right, Miami. It was versus the Dolphins, Miami and the Falcons box score. We just saw Kirk Cousins dump his pants. It was absolutely atrocious. But let me bump up. I'm going to put Juwan Johnson even above a guy I love in Colston Loveland, who has a great matchup this week as well. I'm bumping him up above Loveland, just looking at these stats. I know Atlanta, the worry here is Atlanta's been very good against tight ends throughout this year, the third hardest matchup at the position. I just want to see what Kyle Pitts did in that Falcons-Dolphins game, though. Kirk Cousins, 173 yards. He did have 9 catches for 59 yards, and we're talking full PPR. I believe this was a one where Drake London also missed, so this kind of gives us – it's not a one-for-one substitution, but you kind of get the sense as to how this could play out. Yeah, so there was no Drake London in that game. Kyle Pitts ended up leading the team with 9 targets, caught all 9 of them, and then had 59 yards. So not a phenomenally efficient day, but when you're talking full PPR, which you clarified, half PPR gets closer because the touchdowns matter that much more. That I probably would have even considered maybe Juwan Johnson, I still think I probably would have gone Kyle Pitts. And I'm going to go Kyle Pitts on this one as well, Robbie. That target volume, and plus the way the team just all year has been using him significantly better than what we saw at all, really in the last 2 years for Kyle Pitts in this new regime. He's been far higher route share nearly every snap. And again, likely to lead this team in targets. A lot of people out there, Darnell Mooney, what do I do with him? No, I'm not a Mooney guy. I shouldn't say that. I do like Mooney when he's healthy. He's been banged up all year. He broke the collarbone. He had all these things going on, and he's never really looked like that guy who was a true stud for many parts of last year. And so when I look at this one, Robbie, I think that Kyle Pitts is going to be the main vein of the passing attack. And if I can ever get that, I typically lean into that for a tight end because it's just so hit or miss at that position, touchdown or bust typically. And Juwan Johnson, on that note, is typically touchdown or bust. Did get, again, a decent amount of targets from Tyler Shuck over his last couple starts. Does have that pre-established rapport. It does make this an interesting question, and it does, again, make me reevaluate my tight end rankings. I did bump Juwan Johnson up 4 spots when looking at exactly how productive he's been these last 4 weeks. I'm still going to go Kyle Pitts here. In terms of the flex, Pearsall or Wilson in the flex, I'll make that one easy for you. If Jacobs sits, it's 110% Wilson. If Jacobs plays, you got to bench Wilson. I wouldn't trust him. I know it would probably be a bit more of a timeshare. I could not trust Wilson. It's not nearly the cakewalk matchup that the Giants presented last week. And Wilson was fine. He had 13.9 points. And you're kind of covering, let's cover Wilson. I know he's going to be one of the big questions of the day. Emanuel Wilson, what do we do with this guy? So in the absence of Josh Jacobs last week, he ended up playing from the time Josh Jacobs left the game into the end. He played over 90% of the snaps in that span. I believe it was 93%. I'm just going to get the exact amount here. 94%, even better there. 11 carries, 17 routes, a 60% route share for Emanuel Wilson. Phenomenal usage. But against the Giants, when you're on the field that much and you're facing the number 2 matchup for running backs and you ultimately put up 11.9 fantasy points, not bad day. A fine day, but you'd want to see some more juice in that type of matchup. Not nearly the same quality of matchup against the Vikings. They're not a fearsome run D that we cannot attack at all. And again, if Jacobs is out, I'm going to put Wilson in the majority of these sit starts. I'd probably go to Wilson given that snapshot. Now, I do think Chris Brooks would be a bit more involved, but we saw this coming. Wilson had been the clear running back too throughout the year and would continue to operate that way, is my opinion. But the Vikings, again, the 13th fewest points, so right in the middle of the pack, a little bit worse than middle of the pack in terms of points allowed, 18 to the total backfield and half fantasy points per game. They just held Gibbs to 4.3. They held Derrick Henry under double digits. But we did also see in that same breath, Kamani Vidal had 19.2. Kenny Gainwell had 28. So it's not like an impossible situation. So if Jacobs is out, I go Wilson there. If not, I don't love going Pearsall, but his first game back, he looked fairly active there. I'm okay with it. And then in terms of the quarterback situation, that is a really tough one. I have all these guys, Robbie, right in the same tier. Brissett is my DFS guy this week, no doubt about it, at 5,300, a phenomenal value. I think I'm going to go Brock Purdy. He looked really sharp in that first game back, fully healthy. The Kyle Shanahan offense walked right back into 19.3 points, quarterback 6. I feel like you always have a nice, safe floor when you're dealing with the quarterback in the Kyle Shanahan scheme, the 49ers guy. Rocks right into 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. Him and Kittle reestablished that rapport. And even more so, we're seeing Carolina starting to really push opponents. Bryce Young coming off, 400 yards, I believe, last week. So if Carolina can actually keep this game competitive, and that 49ers defense is abysmal. Not a lot of people look at the fact that Brissett, he just set the completion record and still did not get touched, did not get sacked once over like 53 dropbacks because of how bad that pass rush is. So I bring that up because a lot of people you look at, okay, the Bengals, such a bad defense, and Flacco's going to chuck. And he's in your question. I do like Flacco for those reasons as well. We looked at that with the Cowboys for so much of this year where their defense is like, all right, Dak's going to be constantly chucking. 49ers aren't that much of a step above on any of those levels. They consistently are giving up a ton of passing yards to defenses as well. So I'm going to go with Purdy. He's the safest option in my eyes. I like that one. You get the Monday Night Football hope factor as well. Granted, though, I like all 3 of your options here, Robbie. It's going to be that's a very tough choice. But I would personally rank them Brock Purdy, then Brissett, and then Flacco for those three. But Flacco being the toughest matchup, despite the idea that he's probably going to have to chuck throughout today. So again, to summarize it all, Pitts over Juwan, Wilson over Pearsall if Jacobs is in. If Jacobs is, Wilson, of course, if Jacobs is out. But if Jacobs is in, I'll just pivot to Pearsall. And then I would go Purdy, then Brissett, then Flacco is how I would rank those three quarterbacks, Purdy being my favorite option. Thank you again so much, Robbie, for your support. Sounds like you are, Michael Wilson. Okay, sorry, and thank you for correcting it and giving me the super chat to do that. Then I'm going to go Michael Wilson, no-brainer in that situation. Again, we just saw Brissett set the completion record, and how many of those went to Michael Wilson? I believe it was 18 targets and 15 catches, something insane of that nature. We'll pull up the exact numbers in just a second, but I love Michael Wilson. He's well within my top 20 wide receivers for this week, facing a Jacksonville team that's a top 5 matchup. Yeah, 34 PPR points, 18 targets, 15 catches, 185 yards. Monstrous day for Michael Wilson. Of course, you cannot expect that once again. That was the game of his career probably for Michael Wilson. But another double-digit target day, another 7 to 10 catches, very much in the realm of possibility. So even if he doesn't cross that 180-yard threshold, once again, definitely in play this week. So I would 110% go Michael Wilson over Pearsall, no doubt about it. That's the only no-brainer for me in your question. The rest of it's very tough. But again, Pitts, Michael Wilson, and Purdy is how I would play yours out. FC Ware, consistently supporting your boy. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's go to Parker, Washington, Goddard, or Judy for the flex full PPR. I'm leaning into Goddard here. Seems like Myers is, and it's a small sample, so every given week, Parker, Washington, 1 week is the number one. But I've always liked Myers' talent. It seems the more he gets established, the more rapport he's developing there with Trevor Lawrence. He out-targeted Parker Washington last week. And it's just a offense. We've seen it these last couple of weeks. If they can run the ball 50 times, they will. And I think Tuten, this is a game where I expect a lot of work going to Tuten, going to, of course, Travis Etienne as well. This backfield has averaged 33 expected fantasy points per game over their last 3 weeks. And we saw how pumped up, if you've seen those post-game speeches from Liam Cohen, how physical we are, how we were the hammer, not the nail. You brought it in the run game, and how they just controlled. The time of possession was absolutely insane against the Chargers a couple weeks ago. Or not a couple, last week. I believe the Chargers had the ball for an entire minute of the third quarter. It was nuts. And that's exactly what Liam Cohen wants to do. And the Cardinals, top 10 matchup for running backs. So I think that is exactly what they're going to do, which makes all the passing game products questionable in my eyes. And certainly after a week where Parker Washington was out-targeted by Myers in just his second week with the team, I think that rapport only continues to grow. Judy, it's like, Shador, do you want to bank on it? Maybe it just lights the offense on fire. Certainly didn't for those last couple drives that he got in for that last week. It was atrocious. I think it was the worst quarterback rating that has ever been posted during a game. Something of that nature. Horrendous. And so maybe Judy, we saw him start to pick it up these last couple weeks, but I'd feel better if I'd feel better when it's Dylan Gabriel. You already know the situation is atrocious, so I don't really want to go there. It is a good matchup for receivers. I'm just going to go to Goddard and hope for a shootout style game. This guy's been a touchdown machine. We even see him involved in some like the goal line direct snap shovel pass type plays. I like Goddard. He's a tight end 6 for me this week. Dallas matchup, certainly something to exploit. To me, he seems like the best option here. With 2 very big question marks on those receivers. I'm just going to go with the guy that has a really high touchdown ceiling, and that would be Dallas Goedert. Robert Simmons, thank you so much for the super chat. I greatly appreciate it. Tucker, Watson, Yoshivatz, Mooney, Genty in the flex, PPR. I'm going to eliminate Yoshivatz and Mooney from this. I don't think they even sniff this conversation. And they're intriguing wide receiver sleepers for this week, no doubt about it. But ultimately, that is just their wide receiver 4 desperation plugins, whereas you have Genty, top 7 overall pick in the NFL draft, top first rounder in fantasy. And even still, I'm bringing up his name. I'm actually going to go to Sean Tucker here. Now you get into another guy, Robert Simmons, that we want to cover today, a big name kind of the poster boy of this week, Sean Tucker, fresh off a 34-point day. I had to do a little deep dive in him because I personally am using him in a bunch of leagues myself. And let's dive into some stuff I learned about Sean Tucker. He's only had double-digit carries 3 times in his career, double-digit touches. In 2 of those 3 games, he's hit 34 fantasy points and been the overall running back 1 in 3 of those 4 times. I know it's a very, very small sample size, and we can't just be like, okay, double-digit carries is definitely going to explode. And certainly, this is a tough matchup. 3rd fewest points allowed to running backs are the Rams here. Game flow concerns. They're a 6.5-point underdog, and Rachaad White still does have that passing game role completely unlocked. He's a phenomenal protector. They praise him time and time again for it, and they deservedly so. He is a good pass protector. He's a solid route runner, good receiver as well. Rachaad White still played more snaps last week. He played every single 3rd down, played every single 2-minute drill. And so if they do get down big, let's say Baker Mayfield throws a pick 6, and then the Rams go and it's a 14-0 game. Game flow the floor with Tucker is very, very low in that sense. It could become a 8-carry, 35-yard, and nothing day. I obviously don't expect that because if you look at my rankings, Robert Simmons, I have him +8 ECR. In the same game flow concerns, they were 5.5-point underdogs for the Bills last week. Those concerns were assuaged because Sean Tucker played so well. Then, of course, you also have to add the caveat that was against the Bills, who give up the 2nd most points to backs, who have getting destroyed by backs throughout this entire season. But then you also look at how great the line played when they were finally healthy, just paving lane after lane after lane. He got it done in the receiving game off some screens. And then the report from Diana Rossini comes out that we should expect a very heavy dose of Sean Tucker this week. Josh Grizzard saying the workload has been going up and he continues to do well, so he expects that to continue. Everything to me is trending towards Tucker getting at least 15 touches. And like we've said, when he gets that work, he typically is very, very efficient. He's never scored below. I think his low with double-digit touches was 10.2 running back 23. So ultimately, and now after all this rant, it sounds like it is Trey Tucker. My mod over there found that you're confirming that it was Trey Tucker. So this one gets easy. It's Watson for me. I'm going to go Genty rather over Christian Watson. And you just hope that the Raiders get up and the game flow is the right situation. The line is so bad. I am -10 ECR on Genty, but I'm still going to go him. We'll talk back into Sean Tucker in a second, but Kristen Mann coming in with a super chat as well. So put a pin in that Sean Tucker conversation. And let's get to Kristen Mann. Thank you guys so much. 5 super chats, and we're not even 20 minutes in. You guys are so kind, so generous. Thank you very, very much. Wolf back. Full PPR. Need 1 wide receiver. Rice, wide receiver 2. And your wide receiver 1 is Rice. So now we got to figure out who's going. I was going to say, I don't think we're benching Rice. I know that they do have a much better secondary now, the Colts, since they did trade for Sauce Gardner. Jadarius Ward, I believe, is back as well. That's going to be a very brutal matchup for the Chiefs in general. So I did bump Rice a couple spots, but he's still a top 10 receiver. There's really no question about him. I'm not playing Worthy. So we got Washington, Judy, Booty, Dowdle, Aaron Jones. So got to go with Dowdle in that flex. Top 10 running back for me. San Fran defense is not good at all. I know they're much more generous to the pass than the run. Still not a bad matchup for running backs, in my opinion. And then what I would really be trying, Kristen Mann, before kickoff is, can you move Aaron Jones? If Dowdle's in the flex conversation for you, you must have a very, very good stable of running backs right now. So there's got to be an owner out there desperate for a running back that you can capitalize on and trade Aaron Jones for a quality wide receiver too, because all these guys, I don't want any of them in my lineup. I won't lie. Worthy, Washington, Judy, Booty, Dowdle. All right, no, let's cut it at Dowdle. So Booty, Judy, and Washington and Worthy. None of them really strike any type of feelings for me. I will say I'd probably go Kayshon Boutte, the deep ball guy for the Pats returning. You got a Sev defense in terms of Cincinnati. Also without Trey Hendrickson, so some of those longer routes can have even more. They'd have a horrible pressure sack rate even with Hendrickson in there. It'll be that much better without him. And so I think Kayshon Boutte will have a chance to get deep. The rest of these guys just, if I had to pivot somewhere else, I guess Washington in full PPR. We've seen the juice before. But like I said, I really think it's just going to be a pound the rock type of day for the Jags. And I like Tuten. I like Etienne. I want the running game there. I don't really want many passing game products. So I'll just take the deep shot of Booty. I don't want Worthy with those cornerbacks returning in terms of Ward and then Sauce Gardner. I think it's going to be a tough sledding there for the passing game. And you already have Rice in there too. So unless they were facing like the Cowboys or a completely joke defense, you really don't want to have those guys capitalizing the type of ceiling you could have. So I'm going to go Booty here. I'll go Dowdle for the flex, but again, encourage you, Kristen, very strongly to take Aaron Jones and say, what are you compare him with any of these receivers, whoever the other person wants, and say, could I upgrade? I think for Aaron Jones, you can check the rest of season rankings, Kristen. I think you could probably be looking at like Devonta Smith in a great matchup. If you did like Aaron Jones and Judy or whichever receiver they want is cool with me. So I have Aaron Jones rest of the season at 51. And in that same range, I have for receivers like Flowers, Debo. I guess Debo wouldn't help you this week. Even Jalen Warren. No, that would just be another running back for you. Certainly if you could get Diggs or something of that nature, I would do it in a heartbeat. A.J. Brown, maybe you can capitalize on his owner kind of scrambling here. Devonta Smith. Those are the type of guys I would be looking for and hoping you can kind of – Aaron Jones does have a great playoff schedule. Really intrigued by that run game down the stretch because with McCarthy, they are leaning into the run. But you're not playing Jones over Dowdle the rest of the season. So I think you got to try to capitalize on that depth, find the team that's still involved that has the weakest running back room and see if you can strike a deal, Kristen. But if you have to go with who we got, it's Dowdle for the flex and it's Booty for me for the wide receiver. Thank you guys so much. And one more super chat, my man, Austin Furster. Thank you so much for your generosity, sir. Judkins, Buka, Johnston, Rashid, rest of season. Caleb Purdy. Austin, I'm not going to lie. I'm having a hard time following this question. I don't know if you meant Puka and then Johnston, Rashid, like Rashid Shaheed, Quentin Johnston. Austin, I honestly have no idea what you're asking. So I'll take my best stab at what you're going for. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. Maybe you can clarify, and my man Campanelli in the mod seat here will look for clarification. I don't know if this is a trade. I don't know if you're just looking for like what do you think of these guys rest of the season. I would say Puka, obviously you got to love. I know the route share has gone down because they're playing way more 3 tight end heavy personnel. But that's at the end of the day, yes, you want the guy that's out there every single snap, and that is Adams for them. But it's Puka Nacua, and he's taking less hits. He's a physical style receiver. I don't think it's the end of the world by any means. He's still a top 3 wide receiver, still a first rounder for me rest of the season. Judkins very concerned. Getting a ton of volume, still unable to overcome the environmental limitations of playing on a Cleveland Browns team with a bad offensive line, bad overall offense, getting game flowed out even though they have a great defense. Love him long-term, but not this season. Quentin Johnson, very concerned about the goose egg, very concerned about the time to throw for Justin Herbert. That line is just abysmal now that they've lost both tackles. Rashid Shaheed, too, it's just a passing offense. He's kind of like the same concerns as Puka in that the Seahawks play a ton of 3 tight end sets, only have JSN on the field. So not a lot of room for any other receivers to get much value. He'll have some booms, sure, but not a huge fan. And then I'd rather have Purdy over Caleb. Great playoff schedule for the San Fran 49ers, including a date with the Bears and their pathetic defense as well. So I like Brock Purdy more rest of season than Caleb. They're both solid. Caleb has been a bit matchup dependent and gotten some lucky things in the fourth quarter. He's played better than I would have expected as well. I got to give the man a little bit of flowers. Not going to buy him a whole bouquet, but maybe a flower for him and his painted nails. Sorry. But I'm not a huge Caleb Williams guy. I've never been. Meanwhile, I always love a 49ers-led offense there. So I don't know if that's what your question is, just like looking for the rest of the season outlooks on all these guys. Kind of unclear there, Austin. But hopefully that helped you out and explained what you needed. That does wrap up all of our super chats so far, 6 of it in 24 minutes. You guys are so kind. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. A free way to help your guy with nearly 800 of you, and we're not even at the first half hour. That is incredible. Thank you guys. Is that thumbs up button on YouTube, the heart button on Twitter, the likes, the shares, the retweets, all that stuff helps us grow so much. Let's quickly talk about some Thursday Night Football takeaways, hit the news. As always, though, if you want to cut the line, that super chat is the way to do it. But in terms of what I thought was important for Thursday Night Football, Texans defense is insane. If you were facing Josh Allen, I am in my main league as well. You can breathe a huge sigh of relief. You can thank the fantasy gods. They handed you an absolute blessing this last week. Josh Allen scoring under double-digit fantasy points is a very rare sight, and the Texans' D is extremely, extremely ripe. I, in fact, bet the Texans to win, mostly because I was facing Josh Allen, was banking on it, and I had a car in front of me that had a Texans license plate on Thursday on my ride home, and I just threw some money on the Texans, put them in my confidence league. I was super pumped to see, but they are just ferocious. They have a tough schedule rest of the season, the defense, and you still got to keep playing these guys. 8 sacks, insane. James Cook still did get there. Some of the more intriguing things are some of the ancillary Texans receiving pieces, though. Jaden Higgins, 9 targets, leading the team, 4 catches, 38 and a touchdown. Definitely an intriguing waiver wire guy entering week 13. Christian Kirk did rebound as well, 6 targets, 5 catches, 54 yards, and a TD, leaving very little for Nico Collins. 3 catches on just 3 targets, 55 yards, very painful to watch. Had some big games before this. Stroud will likely be back, but do we have a quarterback controversy on our hands with Davis Chills going 3-0 in his start so far this year, rallying their playoff hopes? I don't know if the locker room will be divided. I know Stroud's their quarterback of the future. Mills has played some better ball. He didn't look great on Thursday either, but I don't know. And then Dalton Schultz, the last guy forgotten there, 1 catch, 8 yards. Woo, did drop a touchdown as well. Woody Marks, very popular play by a lot of people. I had him right in the line with the ECR this week. 16 carries was encouraging, but just 74 scoreless yards. So a very ho-hum day for Woody Marks. Gabe Davis also, and then when you look at the Bills passing game, just the Khalil Shakir show without Kincaid there. 10 targets, 8 catches, 110 yards. Cook, as we mentioned, had 116 and a touchdown on the ground. Looked like it was going to be a monster day with that 45-yard touchdown on the opening drive. Kind of quiet the rest of the day, only 20 fantasy points after having, 16 and a half. They did end up stiffening up that Texans defense. And that's really all I've got for takeaways here for that Thursday night football game. But if there's a player you think I missed, let me know, and I would be happy to cover it. On to the quarterback news. Wolfpack with almost 1,000 of you here. Let's go, baby. Consider hitting that like button for your guy here. We know that Jameis Winston will be starting. The Giants are taking it easy with Jackson Dart. If they were in a competitive situation right now, the reports were they could potentially have him play this week, but they wanted to play it safe, and as they should. Jameis Winston will be getting another start, and I actually am +3 ECR on the guy. I know they really kept Winston reined in this last week, but that's because they were hanging around with the Packers the whole game. In fact, leading for a good amount of that. I don't see any world as 13.5-point underdogs that the Giants stay competitive with the Lions at home for the Lions. We know that Jared Goff goes bananas in these type of situations. And so I do think that the Giants will be playing from a significant deficit all day, which means Winston, the classic gunslinging guy, could be back. And we know when he's in that mode, there's quarterback 1 type of upside. So I've gotten questions, and I'm going to, the more I think about it, I want Winston above certain guys. Like I have a league where I'm starting Jordan Love, and part of me thinks I need to go to Jameis Winston over Jordan Love. I'm going to put him above, like Sam Darnold will put on his points early on this team, but can we really count on that? I'd like Winston. I think I'm going to put Winston all the way up at quarterback 14 and just like really, really hope for some bombs away here. Oh man, famous last words here for Jameis Winston, but I think the game script's going to be ripe. I think he's going to be slinging it. He's certainly my DraftKings guy of the day at 4,600. Low ownership. I think he's going to be a sneaky, really fun play today. Maybe they are all conservative yet again, and they're just kind of like get in, get out mode. But I do think Jameis Winston could be solid today. Moving on, and fantasy-wise, not real-life-wise. We might get 2 picks, but we might get 3 touchdowns to go with those 2 picks as well. But I'm sliding him up the ranks. I'd rather have, I think, Winston than like Flacco. I'd rather have Winston than Darnold, Love. Yeah, I'm going to play Winston in that league where I have Jordan Love. Why not? Way more fun. Love's done nothing to warrant starting consideration when you got a guy like Winston that could go absolutely bananas. Moving on to other quarterback notes. We did have Joe Burrow practicing in full throughout the week. The team ultimately did not activate him, so there will be no Joe Burrow against the Patriots, but there is the expectation he'll be out there on Thanksgiving Day against the Ravens. So in that IR spot, you can stash him 1 more week. Daniel Jones popped up with a calf injury, but he will be good to go as the report from Shane Steichen. ultimately it should be all set. Something related to the fibula. Sorry about that, folks. Wi-Fi is back and running. Thank you. It's something got unplugged, so we're all good here. Hopefully, overcome. I know you super chatted, and I don't want to miss that for you. So hopefully, you're still here, and it still looks like 1,100 of you here waiting. Thank you for your patience as we work through those technical difficulties. There, you guys are the best. I greatly appreciate your patience with that. Overcome 70x7. What's up, man? Thinking of starting Olave and Kittle, benching Diggs, run heavy Pats, booty back. Flacco going to keep it high scoring. Good questions all around. Overcome. I personally would still go Diggs over Olave. I would certainly play Kittle. No doubt about that. With Purdy back, that's his boy. Carolina Panthers, a top 5 matchup for tight ends. Kittle is the absolute lock here. And Olave's been amazing. So Olave is in with Tyler Shuck, showing some really nice touch on his passes, some good deep throws as well. Ultimately had 8 targets, 5 catches, 104, and a touchdown last week, looking really, really solid in the process. So I do think Olave should be in lineups, but if it comes down to him versus Diggs, well, and so you do bring up the point that Booty is back. We did get really intriguing. I'm pulling up the utilization hub over at Fantasy Life because they are very, I love that game logs. But I do note that it was Stephon Diggs had a humongous increase in his route. So let me pull that up real quick. And part of that could be Booty being out. Part of it could ultimately, though, be he's just ramping up and feeling healthier. So, yeah, after going 65% of the routes in week 8, he's then had 73, 78, and then a season high 89% of the routes against the Jets in a game where they didn't necessarily need him. He just looked fully healthy. He was getting open at will. McDaniel's just really scheming it up to perfection there. 33% targets per route, 34% target share, ultimately putting up 19.5, the wide receiver 9. Would I bench him for Olave? You could, but I have much more faith in Drake May, Cincinnati Bengals matchup. I know that it's certainly more of a run funnel defense, and I think the Pats will probably run the ball 40 times today. And I think Trevion Henderson's going to go nuts. I think Rhamondre is in play in the return. And ultimately, though, I still think it's not like Drake May will be forgotten and that this passing game won't put up any points. And if Flacco can push him, and we've seen the Bengals, their opponents are averaging, I had the stat last week, it's something insane in terms of their opponents are averaging like 7.5 more points than the Vegas implied totals each and every week. But Flacco has been keeping games competitive for the most part. I'm just going to look at their last totals here. Let me just pull it up here. So over their last 3 games, last week they did not. 34 points allowed to the Steelers, and they only had 12. But other than that, 47-42, 39-38, and 33-31. So 64, 77, and 89 total points in those games. And the Pats D is good, but not great. Very, very good run defense, but more of a pass funnel. You'd lose Jamar Chase, and that does take away some firepower. I do think it could be a potential smashing by the Pats. But I just think there's a little bit of narrative about them wanting to get Drake May, the MVP, inflating his stats a little bit. And I just think the route bump for Diggs, maybe it was a result of Booty being out. I think more likely that's going to impact Mac Hollins a big way. And ultimately, Diggs is just healthy and looking fully good now and will be right in that 75% route span. So I would go Diggs myself. I would personally go Diggs Kittle of these options. We're talking about 2 to 3 spots, though, here. Same tier for Diggs and Olave. So if your gut is saying, I got to go Olave over Diggs, I get it. I understand the narrative. I understand the argument overcome. But ultimately, I would be going Kittle Diggs in your situation. I have Olave, and I have bias, and I want the man to thrive. I'm very encouraged by what I've seen so far with Tyler Shuck. Again, wide receiver 6 last week in half PPR, but 7.2 and 10.0 in the weeks before that, a little sketchy. So ultimately, and you look at the target share, 7, 12, 4, and 8, compared to Diggs, who has been just consistently seeing target. I had the percentages there, but we had what for Diggs these last few weeks? 11, 7. Yeah, I guess his targets haven't been like anything insane either. I don't know. I'm going Diggs. I'm going. They're both kind of comparable in terms of overall targets these last 4 weeks. So I'll take the guy getting them from Drake May and against a Bengals team that can't stop anybody is how I would view that. Thank you so much, Overcome, for that super chat. I believe that was the rest of the super chats as we were wrapping up our quarterback news. And again, thank you guys so much for sticking with me through the technical difficulties, the Wi-Fi there going out for just a second. But you guys, we got 1,200 of you here. And if you enjoy what you're hearing, please do hit that thumbs up button. The only other quarterback note that I have is that Mike Tomlin said Aaron Rodgers is questionable. He does want to play against the team. He, quote unquote, he's self-declared, I own you, to the Bears, and rightfully so. He has the 3rd most wins in Lambeau, or rather at Chicago Stadium, Soldier Field, I think, of any quarterback, including Bears guys. So, yes, Aaron Rodgers does destroy the Bears. So I would think that game a lot more interesting if Rodgers is out there for sure. Moving to the running back position, one of the guys we already talked about, the poster boy of this week, is Sean Tucker himself, the absolute beast. Sean Tucker must live these days. 34 points last week and only 3 career games with double-digit touches. He has 34 points or more in 2 of those 3 games. Still baffles me that this guy does not get more work. I understand Bucky Irving's a beast, but I think Sean Tucker, who's a free agent this year, will probably get a bag from somebody and hopefully a starting role to see what this guy can do as a year-long starter. Ultimately, though, they're talking about Josh Grizzard. The guy's earned more touches. He's going to continue to get it bumped up. Diana Rossini reporting she expects a heavy dose of him. I know the game script could get out of hand. It's a tough run defense. We cannot expect a 30-point explosion as high as that ceiling is. But that ceiling exists, though. You guys know I'm a ceiling chaser. I'm +8 ECR on Tucker because I do think they're going to ride this guy. The line has looked phenomenal since getting fully healthy. And I think this is going to be their way to try to ground the Rams is pound the rock, get Tucker going. And Sunday Night Football, I think we're going to see another fun game here from Sean Tucker. I'm expecting like 15 to 20 fantasy points tonight from him. And again, +8 ECR on him. Another guy then +9 ECR on Ken Walker facing the Titans in far easier matchup. All week they talked about how he's earned more opportunity. He has outsnapped Zach Charbonnet over the last 3 weeks by about 10 snaps total, and continues to get some more goal line involvement, which was huge for him. He did pick up a glute injury, which I think is why some people are bumping him down, but Mike McDonald did say he should be fine, and I think I get to the pathetic Titans we kind of get one of those a Walker explosions where he rips off some of those big plays he is known for throughout his career. Pacheco has been ruled out for the Chiefs, which means Kareem Hunt will be right back into that RB2 conversation. He averages right around 14 points per game without Pacheco in the lineup. It's not sexy, but he gets the job done. In fact, he's actually leading the NFL in expected EPA there. So in success rate and all that stuff, that it doesn't necessarily factor in explosivity or, your ability to change a game necessarily, but in terms of getting what's blocked and converting on third downs, getting the touchdowns when they're there, Kareem Hunt's leading the NFL right now in that crazy stat, better than Jonathan Taylor, which I know is that metric really even valid if somebody does that, but he's just doing what he needs to do each and every play. He looks slimmer than he's looked in a few years. I like Kareem Hunt a lot. I'm right in line with the ECR because it's just an intriguing running back week. But in terms of nice, solid floor, I think Kareem Hunt is there, even in a tough matchup against the Colts. Stevenson, as we talked about, is expected to play. I still have Travion Henderson in my top 7 running backs. It is just the biggest joke of all joke run defenses in the entire league. So I'm playing Travion Henderson. I'm playing even Rhamondre Stevenson. I think both are in play, but certainly Henderson. I've got some questions about him, given that Stevenson's back. And yes, I understand Stevenson will be involved in all these blow-ups. 2 30-point days in his last 3 games came without Stevenson in the lineup. But I also think Vrabel's smart enough. You're not putting this genie back in the bottle. I really think Trevion's going to continue to feast. And I saw that he's only expected to be about 5% rostered on DraftKings today because people are worried about Stevenson coming back. I think he's a no-brainer play at that level of ownership. Swift off the injury report, he will play. Solid option against the Steelers, who have been defending the run quite well. But we also have the Bears really leaning into their running game these last few weeks, generating the second most yards per carry before contact. According to Roto World, love that little nugget. The line is playing some great ball. And Swift's playing solid too, so a nice high floor running back too will be there. And Kamara is questionable, but expected to play as well. Moving to the wide receiver position, folks, and we do have 1,400 of you here. Thank you so much. And again, those that stuck out that little technical glitch here, greatly appreciate it. Please consider hitting that thumbs up button on YouTube, the heart button on Twitter. It is so greatly appreciated to have so many of you here on a Sunday morning, getting ready for your fantasy week, a crucial Week 12. Please consider liking and sharing and all that good stuff to help the show continue to grow. And any new subscribers are always so greatly appreciated. We're live every Sunday morning. We'll be live before Thanksgiving as well. Brian Thomas has been ruled out. The fantasy season from hell continues there. I do expect Jacoby Myers to operate as that number 1 pass catcher, but as mentioned quite a few times, I think the entire offense will be flowing through the backfield. 33 plus expected fantasy points per game to these running backs in the last 3 weeks. Tuten's off the injury report. Etienne's off the injury report. It's a top 10 matchup for backs. I love both of the running backs here this week in terms of Bhayshul Tuten and Travis Etienne. See you later, Travis Hunter. Ultimately, if you had to play a Jags receiver, it would be Myers for me as he continues to ascend. I don't know that I want either of those guys. I just think they're going to flow entirely through their running backs. Chris Godwin, surprising news to me. That update was put into the rankings for the 1,500 of you here watching at rotostreetjournal.com. Live updated rankings throughout the show and throughout the morning if there's any other news. But Godwin expected to play. We'll see in terms of what that route share looks like. They've been taking it very, very cautiously, though, with Chris Godwin. So I imagine if they're putting him in here, that they will give him right around 60-ish%. Let me see what he played in his first game back, and I know it led to him ultimately breaking down. So he was right around 25% target share, which is kind of wild. 26% target share, 91% of the routes, and 79% of the routes in his 2 games. So it's not like the team really put any training wheels on him as he was ramping back from the fibula before. That's possibly what led to the breakdown. But again, why would they put him out here if they didn't expect him to be fine? We're talking about the wide receiver 2 in fantasy points per game last year. Not a guy I need to slam into my lineup by any means. And it's not a great matchup against the Rams, although game flow could be nice there. But I tossed him right in there I put Booty over him, but I don't necessarily believe that. Rashid Shaheed's not running any routes himself. like Parker Washington, Yoshevich. I'll just go with Godwin at that point. Why not? I mean, I'm going to be much higher than the ECR on Godwin. I just don't think the team would be, yes, their playoff hopes are on the line, but it's such an easy division. They got 2 games against the Panthers. They wouldn't be playing Godwin if they didn't feel he was fully ready to go. So I'm bumping him up as we talk about it. I'll put him right around one of my favorite wide receiver sleepers in my next note here, Darius Slayton, who is averaging 75 yards per game across his last 3. And if you add in a brutal and just horrific offensive pass interference penalty that wiped away like a 70-yard bomb touchdown, I mean, we would have been talking about a top 20 wide receiver in his last 3 games. Now he's got Jameis Winston in a gunslinging script, most likely. I really, really like Darius Slayton. I'm plus 15 ECR on him. Off the injury report, should be good to go. We also have Io Manor ruled out for the Tennessee Titans, which makes Chimere Dike a little interesting. Van Jefferson also led the team in targets. I am certainly more intrigued by the rookie there. But Van Jefferson, if you are truly the most desperate of souls out there, I guess you could go his way as well. In Seattle, they're going to certainly need their points. I expect they will be playing from behind the entire game for this one. So if you're really desperate, maybe you'll turn your attention there. I do think it more so impacts Chigokonku, who's one of my favorite tight end sleepers. I'm plus 8 ECR on him as well. And then Xavier Worthy is questionable, seems to be on the optimistic side of that. He got limited in full practices. I think he's kind of like the Tony Pollard. I know he's way more explosive. We're not comparing player types. But in terms of roster clogger, you spent a high pick on the guy. You can't cut him as a result. And then you just keep costing yourself shots at Sean Tucker and Bhayshul Tuten and whoever the next one. Maybe Blake Corum, stash him and something happens to Kyron Williams. I don't want to keep costing myself the shot at these to have a guy like Xavier Worthy that I'm never going to feel comfortable putting into my lineup. I'm good cutting him. That's the only reason I added him to the news today is because I'm great he's one of those roster cloggers. Get him off the team. In terms of tight end news, and it's on to all of your questions, guys, just a couple notes. Sam Laporta is very, very slim chances to return for the rest of 2025. Brutal break for his fantasy owners. Brock Wright, touchdown or bust type of option in a great offense. Sure, he could be a potential plug-in. But I think, Chigokonku, this guys that I definitely prefer to Brock Wright this week and really rest of season. I have Brock Wright at 26, including below Brenton Strange, who's returning to the lineup. Before getting hurt on Monday Night Football, he had 6 targets in back-to-back games. He caught a nice 29-yarder down the seam, was really involved. And now you have no Brian Thomas. You had a top 12 matchup for tight ends against Arizona. I actually kind of like Brenton Strange today. It's always risky starting these guys in their first game back as they're shaking off the rust. But ultimately, I think Brenton Strange is in play today if you're very, very desperate. We're talking about tight end 19, but there's some ugly situations out there for sure. And then the Bengals, last note here, Gesicki's off the injured reserve. So that does send Noah Fant plummeting down the rankings. He could have been an intriguing sleeper with no Jamar Chase this week. We have seen Gesicki is more so when T. Higgins missed because Jamar Chase doesn't really miss a ton of action. In the games that T. Higgins missed last year, Gesicki was a high-end wide receiver 2 type of production. But now that Noah Fant's here playing well, nibbling each other's cheese, Gesicki's first game back off injured reserve gets a little risky. Plus Flacco, who knows what that rapport will look like. I don't think either of these Bengals tight ends are now in play at this point. The only note that I had for line and defense is that Tremaine Edwards for the Bears will be on the injured reserve. But I bring that up because they are now down 3 of their starting 4 linebackers, which does boost up the matchup for Jaylen Warren and Kenny Gainwell for the Steelers as well. I believe that is everything we've got, folks, in terms of news and nuggets. So we are now on to your questions for the rest of the show. Thank you guys so much for being here. Please consider hitting with 1,700 of you here. We're not even an hour in. Maybe we get to another one of those 3,000, 4,000-ish live view days. Would be amazing. Please consider hitting the thumbs up on YouTube, the heart button on Twitter, wherever you are watching from, the likes, the shares, the retweets. It so greatly helps us out. I'm going to get a quick sip of coffee and a quick swig of water. And as always, your super chats so greatly appreciated. And if you want to toss your boy a little support, you can always cut the line for free. No, not for free, but cut the line. It would be so greatly appreciated. But we got a whole hour and 20 minutes or so to dive into the questions for the rest of the way. My man, Eric Buckman, quarterbacks Love, Williams, or Brissett. I'm going to go, I think I'm going Brissett for this one. Great matchup against the Jags. Set the completion record for quarterbacks. It's not Jordan Love for me. Caleb Williams has played well, and Pittsburgh had been a good matchup for quarterbacks, but they've really stiffened up lately. So I'm going to go with Jacoby Brissett, ride the hot hand. He's been a top 12 quarterback every single week that he's started so far this year. Hasn't gone below 20 points once. I'm going to keep riding that train, Buckman. Sorry, you had a receiver question. Wilson. I'm going to go with Michael Wilson for sure. Stack those two up. And then, you already know I love Slayton, but Tez, I should have mentioned in the note on Godwin, Tez does take a hit, in my opinion. If Godwin's going to be playing 70% of the routes, certainly takes a bit of the wind off of Tez's sails that already were kind of flailing in the wind anyways. Michael Wilson off an 18 target, 15 catch a day, no brainer. And I love Slayton, but Wilson's like 3 tiers ahead of him for me. Stranger Loveland, I am going Loveland for that. You might have commented that on Twitter earlier today, if I'm not mistaken as well. At least I got that same question on Twitter as well. Thank you so much, Buckman. But yeah, those are 3 I would go. William G, thank you so much for your support over here, good sir. Let's dive into your question. Brissett or Baker? You're talking about my quarterback 10 and 11 here. I have Baker higher. I always am a bit higher on Baker. I just love the guy. I think in these type of game environments is where we often see Baker rise to the occasion. You're certainly safer with Brissett, who again has not dipped below 20 points, depending on your scoring settings. All year has been in the top 12 every single week he has started. He is absolutely cooking. I just think we get a solid Baker game against the Rams tonight. Maybe it ends up being a defensive battle, but I like this one to go over. Quarterback 7 in back-to-back weeks for Baker here. I'm going to keep riding him since the bye week. He's been very, very solid. And then in terms of defense, we got Tuten versus Tracy. I'm going Tuten. I know he's the quote-unquote backup here, but Tracy and Singletary are locked in this committee, and both of them are locked into a matchup against the Lions, who are giving up bottom 4 points to the running back position. And I think that game flow is just going to be out of hand. Now, granted, Tracy should benefit from an out of hand game flow. If you talk about pass catching upside there, I think that certainly helps out Tracy because he's a converted wide receiver. But I do think Tuten, we talked about a few times here, but to reiterate, I think the Cardinals top 10 matchup for running backs, and the Jags 33 expected backfield points across their last 3 games. That's the most by over 5 points compared to the next closest team. And then that's the Dolphins, who have 28. After them, the third team is putting up 23 expected points in the backfield, so 10 more points than the third best team in expected backfield points. That's how much they are riding their running backs screen game, getting them in space. So I am a big, big fan here of Bhayshul Tuten and Travis Etienne. I think they're both I have +6 ECR on both running backs in a top 10 matchup today. Raiders versus Pats D. I had the Pats higher entering the week, but the more I look at it, Shador was such a mess last week, and I have the Pats in a league, and I admittedly opened up the wire trying to find the Raiders today, and I couldn't find them. So I like the Raiders in that one. When you're going for defense, I do think Flacco will put up some points. He might have an interception, a couple sacks. I can't see the Patriots. Maybe you get a good special teams return or something, but to me, you're looking at a 5 to 8 point day, whereas like Raiders, you got that 20-point upside against Shador. Could be an absolute sack, Crosby type of like 4-sack type of day situation. So I've been bumping the Raiders up. They're now my defensive 6. So I would go Baker, very close though. If you want to go Brissett, they're my 10 and 11, same tier. Totally understand. I do like Tuten a bit more than Tracy, and I'm going to go Raiders defense for you. Thank you again so much for the support. Mike Luva, thank you so much for your support as well. Start 2 of Swift, Kamara, Judkins, or Pickens. I got to go Pickens. Coming off a 30-something point day. I know it's, he kind of alternates those huge weeks with CeeDee Lamb. I forget the podcast I was listening to. I believe it was Jacob Gibbs and Dan Schneider. It's called like the Fantasy Football Today podcast for CBS. Let me just pull up the stat here because it blew my mind. Fantasy Today, Beyond the Box Score. That's the show. One of my favorite podcasts that I only recently discovered. become a part of the weekly rotation. Let me just view the transcript because there was some crazy stuff about Pickens in here. Pickens. So they were talking about how good he is after the catch, how much better he expected, but it was more so the usage. Since CeeDee Lamb returned, 37 to Lamb targets, 35 to Pickens, 26. Hold on. 26 catches for Pickens, 24 for Lamb. Receiving yards, Pickens is ahead of Lamb, 383 to 335. So, I think in fantasy points, I think Pickens is also leading that as well. So, yes, of course, CeeDee Lamb's an animal. I'm not suggesting that we bench him or anything, but Pickens has been just right there with him. Philly is a solid secondary. They took Pickens out of the game, but that was his first game with the Cowboys as well. That rapport has been so much more firmly established in these recent weeks. So, yeah, I like George Pickens quite a lot today. He's the no-brainer for me. And then I'm going to go DeAndre Swift. The Steelers, again, have been good against the runs, but the Bears have been blocking absolutely beastly. Ben Johnson's run scheme has always been phenomenal, and they've really been leaning into that these last couple of weeks as well. Kamara is so gross throughout the year. Judkins, I wanted to have above Swift, and this morning, the more I dove into it, very, very concerned with Judkins, who's been he had 22 and 17 carries these last few weeks. It's just such a bad environment for anybody. And the Raiders are sneaky, much better against the run than the pass. So let me just read Judkins, despite getting good volume. And I'm not sure what your format is, but I'll go half PPR as the middle ground. His last 4 games, so he had that monster game against Miami, 26 points. Other than that, 4, 3, 10, and 6. Running back 48, 45, 26, and 38. As good as the guy is, I am a huge Judkins fan. I think when they get their franchise quarterback, that this guy could be a potential second rounder. The way he's popping, it's just too much to overcome in terms of this horrific offensive environment. So I'm going to go with Swift. I'm going to go with Pickens for that, Mike Luva. Thank you so much for your support, good sir. Really, really appreciate it. Moving back to the questions, the mailbag. Giuseppe Russo. Happy Sunday, Wolfpack. Pick one running back, one flex. Jordan, Addison, Parker, Washington, Tyler Algier, or Tuten. I am definitely going Tuten. And the flex is just to me, I boil it down to Algier versus Addison, and I'll just take the home run shot at Addison. He's still scoring touchdowns. I am so disappointed in J.J. McCarthy. We've seen Nick Mullins and just nobody's. Carson Wentz, banged up Carson Wentz, putting up stats in this offense, and we can't even get J.J. McCarthy, this top 5 overall pick, doing a damn thing. That being said, Addison is still such a baller that I'm hoping, this is one where I would just lean into the talent and hope that J.J. just uncourse the right bomb at the right time. Algier does have some decent touchdown upside, but Kirk Cousins, I actually take the Saints to win today at home. And if it's not a positive game flow, Algier would be a forgotten man. So I'm going to go with Addison and Tuten for that one. Love or Daniel Jones? I'm definitely going Daniel Jones there. Love has just been so inconsistent. And if it's consistency, it's the fact that he's stunk in fantasy all year. Starting Gibbs, do I go Monty, Bam Knight, Singletary, or Spears? This is definitely one of those weeks, Giuseppe. You lean into both the backs. No team is worse in run DVOA, rushing yards allowed per game. Second most points allowed to backs in terms of fantasy production. This is one where you just put both those backs in and expect 40 total points from your backfield. Whether it's 30 Gibbs and 10 Montgomery, whether it's 20 and 20, you're gonna get a ton of backfield points just going with both those guys. And then Giuseppe Russo, half PPR, Wandale, Dobbs, Michael Wilson, Singletary, Spears. It's definitely Michael Wilson for the receiver, and I'm gonna go Wandale and hope that they're just chasing points for the flex. For that one, Giuseppe Russo. I don't know why I always do that with your name, but it's just fun to me. And you've been here from day one, Giuseppe. Loveland or Pitts? I'm going with Pitts for that one. We talked about him in a super chat earlier, Giuseppe. You probably heard about it, but 9 targets his last game with Kirk Cousins and without London. I expect very similar target leading on the team. Who knows what the production will be with Kirk Cousins, but he had nearly half the yards from him last time. And New Orleans is nothing to shy away from. Pick one receiver, one flex. Jacoby Myers, Parker Washington, Singletary, Tez, Yosevich, or Loveland. I like Myers the most of the receivers. Now that Godwin's back, Tez would have been my guy. You know I'm a huge Tez guy, but not with Godwin back. And I actually kind of like Loveland. Top 5 matchup for tight ends. I'm into it. Would you drop Parker to stash Reed? Yes, I would drop Parker Washington for either of these guys. I would say with Jaden Reed, if you can toss him in an IR spot, awesome. If not, go with Burden, because I think this is going to be his breakout game today, Giuseppe. I know he's one of the title guys. Haven't had any questions on him, but excited to talk about him. He jumped Olamide Zaccheaus last week in terms of the routes. Zaccheaus, I think he was like at a 9% snap share, whereas Burden was right around a 50. I'll pull up the exact utilization because I really do like Burden. And I think this is going to be his takeover. I've talked about how he might be potentially on that Amon-Ra rookie year trajectory where does nothing all season and then suddenly gets bumped up. So yeah, 61% of the routes for Luther Burden last week playing over Zaccheaus, who ran 19% of the routes. And did it turn into much production? No, 5.7 points. But he's looked electric with the ball in his hand every time he's been out there. Ben Johnson talked about how he's really earned his playing time. And we know Ben Johnson is one of those, you got a block to get the rock. You earn every minute you get type of guy. So if he's praising Burden, don't forget this preseason that Greg Olsen dropped a little nugget on a broadcast after talking to Poles, their GM. He sneakily told, and I remember Olsen, like, I probably shouldn't have told you guys this. He said that Poles expects Burden to be the best receiver on the roster by the end of this year. That they're so excited and electric. A yak king for a guy that is a master in Ben Johnson at scheming yak. Burden is so deadly with the ball in his hands. And now you get Pittsburgh giving up the third most points to receivers, but especially in terms of points to the slot receivers. I'm all about Burden today. I'm not opposed to starting him at all. I think he lights it up. So Giuseppe, I would drop Parker for Burden today. If you can drop somebody else for Reed, awesome as well, because you know me, I've always been a huge Reed guy. But I think he'll probably sneak through the waivers because he's not active this week, and then you can kind of see how the dust settles and drop whoever else next week for Reed. I would not be letting Burden sit out there because he's going to go nuts, and everyone's going to pay all the money to go get him. And thank you, Giuseppe. I was just about to remind people, but you'll do it for me. Like, share, and subscribe, people. Small way to repay the man and help get him out to the masses. Greatly appreciate that. Would definitely appreciate a thumbs up on YouTube, a heart button on Twitter. If you enjoy what you're hearing, it helps you out. Please do consider doing that. And of course, hit that subscribe button as we make a small, slow crawl towards 5,000. I don't go live nearly as much now that I have the kiddo. So I understand that, we're not gaining a ton of subscribers as we used to when I was doing waiver wires and everything every week. But ultimately, would love to have you guys subscribe and come to at least the Sunday show every week, like so many of you do. But please do continue to help us get out there. And of course, check out rotostreetjournal.com. We have my live updated rankings for free every single week. Rest of season rankings updated every Monday. And then, of course, I try to dive into who am I getting asked about the most. And this week, it was Sean Tucker, Bhayshul Tuten, and Emanuel Wilson. So I did a deep dive on all 3 running backs. I would love to have you guys check that out. We'll continue forward with a way to cut the line is in the way to really support your boy. $5 super chat. Run bit crash. Whatever your name would be. Thank you so much for your super chat here. I really, really appreciate it. Warren, Kamara, Pearsall, Tucker, Gainwell need 2. You also have Godwin. I talked about how I'm not opposed to getting Godwin in at all. When you have these type of options, I would sit and wait it out, see how he looks, make sure he can make it through the game. The Godwin, as we talked about earlier, conversation is more so like if you're in that like Parker Washington, booty, I'll just go with the talent of Godwin and cross my fingers, hope for the best. But you don't need to do that. Run it be. I would go in your situation. I'm going Sean Tucker, poster boy of the week. 34 points in 2 of 3 games, career with double-digit touches. He just always explodes. They've talked about how they want to put more and more work on his plate. Heavy dose of him. He does have a very significant risk because this is a tough matchup, 3rd fewest points to backs. Game flow concerns if they get down big early. We do know Rachaad White is still the lead pass-catching back, played every single 3rd down, every single 2-minute drill. So if they get in comeback mode and this game is not close, let's say it becomes a 14-point game, then I think Tucker gets phased out. That risk is very, very real. We have to acknowledge that from the jump here, run bit. But the upside, of course, again, 34 points, running back 1 in 2 of his 3 times starting. You also have to acknowledge how incredible that upside is. We also just saw Ken Walker put up 18 fantasy points, a season high against this defense, showing a little bit of leaks. And I just think this now that they're fully healthy, this Bucs offensive line is the real deal. So to me, Tucker's my favorite, followed very, very closely by Jalen Warren. I want one of the Steelers backs, and it seems like Warren is going to play, so I'll go with the guy that is the lead back. 3 out of 4 starting linebackers are out for the Bears today, paving the way for a big, big game for the ground game for the Steelers. Especially if Mason Rudolph is at quarterback, you know they're going to lean into those backs. So I'm going to go Tucker and Warren here for these options. All very, very similar in the same tier. Tough to sift through, but to me, Tucker and Warren bring the most juice from a matchup perspective and volume matchup perspective for Warren, volume perspective, and just like sheer talent for Tucker is how I would play that. And Josh Montgomery, thank you so much. David Montgomery's brother, very, very supportive of the show now. But thank you so much, Joshua. Very kind and generous super chat of you. 2 $10 super chats today. You guys are incredible. Maybe I'll toss in another Hail Mary Millie Maker based on the super chats we've gotten today. Make $1 million, a nice return on investment. I'll just win that tournament today. How about that? Jameis Winston, baby. 1 point PPR. Let's get to your question, Josh. Thank you so much, though, for your support. Jacoby Myers, Chimere DK. Do you think maybe a high volume for DK, or is Myers and Jax going to keep up with the Cards right now? Booty's also on waivers. Oh, man. Tough question. Full PPR, I think I'm going to go with Myers in this one. And I've already talked about how I don't love going into the Jags passing game today. But of these 3 options, I have him the highest and certainly in full PPR. Let's talk about the negatives. Let's get those out of the way first, Josh, is to reemphasize the backfield points across the last 3 weeks. 33 expected fantasy points for the Jaguars backfield because of how highly utilized they've been in the passing game and the goal line, just all over. That's how expected fantasy points works, like down and distance and red zone and receiving and all that. They are the tops in the league by 5 points compared to the Dolphins, who are second with 28 backfield expected points. And then third is 23 points. So they're 10 points over the third place team in expected fantasy backfield points. That's how much the Jags are leaning into their backs. That being said, Myers, since joining the team, has been relatively solid. Last week, a nice 64-yard, 5-catch day, 6 targets, pacing the team there. 20 wide receiver 22 in PPR leagues. I totally see the narrative for Chimere DK. I spent more time talking about this guy this week than I ever wanted to because my brother has him, and he's just like, he's obsessed with him. It's kind of weird. But he keeps bringing up the right points in terms of like the Seahawks are going to get up huge, as they do. When they face these doormat type of teams, they're going to be up by like 35 at halftime, and then it's just going to be a high volume script potentially. But the volume has been disgusting. Cameron Ward sucks. Van Jefferson out-targeted DK. If we had seen, like, there was a stretch run, and let's pull it up and kind of dive into it. You know, there was a time where I was ranking Chimere DK in my top 40 wide receivers because it looked like he had taken over that clear number 1 role where he went, 470 touchdown, 12.9. So we're full PPR. Let me pull up the full points here. So he had a stretch where he went 16.9, wide receiver 16, and 16.4, wide receiver 14. And then the last 2 games since then, 3 targets and 3 targets, wide receiver 51 and 73. He only got to wide receiver 51 because he scored a special teams touchdown that week as well. He had 1 catch for 5 yards, 1.5. To me, that floor is just not worth, like, the ceiling has been 16. It's nice, but like it took everything to squeeze that 16 points out of him. I think, Jacoby Myers, he's shown a good rapport so far with Lawrence. He fits that kind of first read. We know how Lawrence loves to lock onto that first read. Much safer bet, in my opinion. Like, similar ceiling, much safer floor to Jacoby Myers. I understand the script you're ironing out here in terms of the high volume. It could be there for DK. I don't mind playing the guy at 4K on DraftKings where it works out for my builds. I've had a couple with him, sneak it in there. But even with the Jags completely hammering their running backs and the Cards being more of a running back friendly matchup, I got to go with Jacoby Myers in this one. Booty is the Hail Mary here. The deep threat for the Pats. He's not too far off from Myers. I would rank them Myers, then Booty, then DK. I would probably pick Booty up instead of rostering Chimere DK myself. But you're also, that's another one where you're absorbing potential 0 type of risk. So I don't know if you're a heavy underdog and you needed like an eruption spot, then maybe you pivot there, because we have seen Kayshon Boutte have some of these monster pop-ups. He's the clear deep threat for this offense. 26.3, 13.5, 16.5. Then he got hurt and had 0. I don't know. I do really like Kayshon Boutte. But then Mac Hollins showed really, really well in his absence as well. I'm bumping Boutte up the rankings. So I'd rather have him than Yoshivatz. I'd rather have him than Josh Downs, Jerry Jeudy. Give me the upside of Kayshon Boutte. Wide receiver U coming out of LSU. I'm still ultimately going to go with Jacoby Myers, a couple spots above Kayshon Boutte. I think he's the safest option. Boutte definitely has the highest ceiling, though. If you needed an eruption, let's say Josh Allen's your quarterback, you're now like a 25 to 30% chance to win. Why not roll the dice and go for a Boutte eruption? I really like Kayshon Boutte, actually. Because, again, the only game that was bad recently was the game he got hurt in. Otherwise, in full PPR, he had 3 straight, 26.3, 13.5, 16.5, wide receiver 4, 24, 12. And since the Diggs, of course, has emerged, Matt Collins has emerged, it's no guarantee he's going to keep that roll up. I really do like Boutte, but to me, Jacoby Myers would be my favorite one of these options. I really think they attacked the Jags on the ground today. Or the Jags attacked the Cards, rather, in that one. Thank you again, Josh. So generous of you with that super chat. Morning from Jeffrey Cooperman. Thank you so much. Need to start one, Godwin or Worthy? Screw Worthy, man. I don't want nothing to do with him. He'll get open deep, but Mahomes never connects with him. He doesn't track the deep ball well. For a guy with 4.2 speed, I mean, you want this guy to, you think he can be this elite deep threat, the fastest combine in history. What has he done since Rashee Rice returned to the lineup? Wide receiver 48, 39, 59, and 58. Just abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. I know Godwin comes with his own risks too, but I'd rather have the guy that was the wide receiver 2 in points per game. The team took it nice and slow with him. Going to need some points against the Rams. I like Godwin this week. I do, Jeffrey. I don't love him. There's certainly tons of risk with Chris Godwin today as well, but I don't think the team would be rushing him back. We've seen how slow they took it with him, right? So if he wasn't really ready to go, why would they be playing him today is how I look at it. And in the 2 games he played, he had 91% and 79% of the routes. So I think Godwin is back. He's going to play a near full-time role, and I'll go roll those dice because Worthy's shown us absolutely nothing. And Godwin, we've at least over his career, know the guy's an absolute stud. We don't know if that's still him today, but I'd take that risk 10 out of 10 times. And the Colts secondary, too. They're going to be brutal now that Ward is back. You trade for Sauce Gardner. That's going to be a really, really tough sledding here. And their D coordinator, saw in Diana Rossini's report, I was reading it admittedly for some Sean Tucker love. Heavy dose of him was a nugget in there. But she also talked about how the defensive coordinator for the Colts has really had Mahomes' number throughout his career as well. So all that adds up to me going to Chris Godwin over Worthy, Jeffrey. Tucker risk with Irving. Irving's not back. He was already ruled out on Friday. So Tucker, to me, is far less risky. His risk run to talk about the Tucker risk, and thank you for your second super chat run bit. The risk is that they're facing the Rams, who are the third toughest matchup for running backs. Not great from the jump. 2, Rachaad White played all of the third downs, every single one of them. All the 2-minute drills. He's the clear cut passing roll back. Great protector, solid receiver. Not going to take that away from White. He's good in the passing game because of those factors. And the team values that highly. He will continue to have that role, I think, even when Irving is back. So if this game flow gets really bad, if they're down by 2 scores, and not even 10 points, I'm talking 14 plus points, we could see Tucker get phased out. That is the very real risk. And unlike the Bills, who also, that risk was there for Tucker last week, but they are as soft as can be, the Bills, in terms of run D. This is a good Rams run D. We saw some leaks against the Seattle Seahawks last week, though. I don't know if there's an exact injury that led to that, but 18.6 to Ken Walker, the best game he's had all season. And heavy dose expected. Josh Grisser, the offensive coordinator, saying, he's earned more and more work as the weeks have gone on, and that's going to continue this week. And we just yes, there's risk with him that we just outlined. Let's talk about the reward. 3 games with double-digit touches for Tucker in his career. Very small sample size. I know it's can be fool's gold to try to draw a lot out of 3 games, but this is what we have. In 3 games with double-digit touches, he has 34 or more points twice, and it was the running back 1 in both of those weeks. and he had 10 points in the other one. So I think we're getting 15-ish touches today from Tucker, and we just know the history there. I think there's a lot of upside. So I have him +8 ECR. I'm leaning into Tucker. No Bucky Irving this week. Once he comes back, yes, it will be risky because now you're talking about Rachaad White still in the passing down role, and you're splitting up the ground pie. And Bucky Irving is obviously, of course, a great talent himself. So, yes, there will be a lot of risk when Irving is back. But as of right now, I don't think there's a ton of risk, no. I mean, the risk would be the game flow. All righty, need to make room for a kicker. Drop Bam Night. Thank you guys so much. 2,300 of you, by the way. Thank you for all those generous super chats. 13 on the day. We're only about an hour in. You guys are so kind and so generous. With 2,300 of you here, let's see if we can get to 3K. That thumbs up on YouTube, the heart button on Twitter, it really does help us get out to so many more people. I know I'm annoying. I know I'm a broken record. I know I keep saying it. Would also love to have 2,400 of you, though. Go check out rotostreetjournal.com. Every one of those clicks helps us make a little bit of money as well. So thank you guys so much for supporting your guy. I love doing this, and it's become something that I can lean upon financially. Not I obviously have a real job too, but to know that this every season, every Sunday has become something that make a little money out of has been such a joy and treat. Because I started for doing it for the love. You guys have helped make it like a nice, true cushion financially for us. When I have a kid, that means the world. So thank you guys. But in terms of making room for a kicker, back to the important stuff. I just had to Crusoe. Drop Bam Knight, Singletary, or Love. You have Daniel Jones. I'm good getting rid of Jordan Love. I mean, he gets Detroit on Thanksgiving. That's going to be a fun one. If you're not playing Bam Knight or Singletary, once Benson's back, that's useless. Singletary kind of just sucks. I'd probably cut Bam Knight. Droid morning. Start one wide receiver and one flex. Zay, Wandale, Tet, Javonte Williams, or Jacobs. We don't know if Jacobs is going to play unless I missed a nugget on him. I haven't seen anything quite yet. The actives and inactives should be in around 11 o'clock. We are getting – so one note I did say, because we got a couple of Godwin questions. Jeremy Fowler came out and said Godwin will likely be on something of a pitch count in week 12. So that probably bumps him a little bit down my rankings. But again, like Worthy isn't on a pitch count. He just sucks. And we got something like that the last time Godwin made his season debut, and he ran 91% of the routes. Like we get these pitch count things all the time. And I feel like they never the one that always stands out to me was like Christian McCaffrey is going to return to a bit of a pitch count. It was a couple seasons ago. He had like 35 touches and played 97% of snaps. So whoever is leaking, I think these guys just like make shit up sometimes just to, I'm going to get some retweets from the fantasy community. God was in a pitch count. Let's all react. And then it never ends up coming. Like it sometimes does, sure. But there are so many times that it's just like completely wrong. And more often than not, I think it is. So I'm not going to overreact to the pitch count thing. But I'm just checking that only came up because I was checking to see if there's any Josh Jacobs news. Rodgers pushing to play, Worthy expected to play, Irving in week 13 expected to play next week, Kamara expected to play, Walker expected to play. And then the latest on Jacobs was they plan to work him out before determining his status. If you saw some of the clips I put up in the article, again, I broke down Emanuel Wilson, Bhayshul Tuten, and Sean Tucker. I did a deep dive into all three of those guys this weekend. And if you check that article out, Jacobs looked like he was moving around pretty good in practice. He prides himself on playing through pain. That, if it was structurally wrong, he says he'd sit, but not. So I think Jacobs is going to be out there. That being said, I'd still play, there's a risk of re-aggravation. I think Javonte Williams is the flex. And then I would go Tet for sure for the wide receiver. This is a 49ers team that cannot get after the passer at all. Bryce Young coming off a career best day. So I like going to Tet McMillan. I'm +3 ECR. I have him at wide receiver 9, a top 10 guy, head and shoulders above your other options here, Droid. My man Eli always coming in, always just tossing $5 and giving me the salute. Salute you back. You are the absolute man. Thank you for your support. If you have a question, by all means, please ask it. But very generous if you just come in and say thanks each and every week. It means the world. Thank you so much, sir. Droid, back to a couple more questions for you. Sorry, one tight end and one kicker. Kicker questions, man. Andrews or Jawan? I actually did just bump Jawan over Andrews. That'll be on the latest rankings update I run after the show today. So I'm going Jawan there. And then kicker, Jake Elliott, Jake Bates. Jake hates, the coach hates kicking the ball, so I can see why that. Or Cam Little. Something tells me Cam Little has just one of those like 15-point to 20-point masterpieces today. Bates also in a good spot. So Bates got dropped in the league where I had Cam Little, and I clicked to pick up Bates, but they go for it so much on fourth down. Against the Giants in the Dome, I do think Bates is the higher floor, but I'm going to go Cam Little. Something about him seems to be like a 20-point day. Yek, Morning Wolf, half PPR, Addison, Watson, Tucker, or Tuten in the flex. I'm definitely going Tucker for that one. I'd rank those Tucker, Tuten, then Watson, Addison being the fourth option there, which sucks because he's the best talent of the list. But I love Deshaun Tucker. We've gone into why I like him a lot today. Don't need to keep banging the drum. And I love Bhayshul Tuten even in the running back 2 role. Is it even the running back 2 role? Something we didn't talk about with Bhayshul Tuten. It gives me a chance to bring up one more thing about him. He had 15 carries to 12 carries for Travis Etienne at the time of his injury. He played right around 45% of the snaps, was leading the team in touches through 7 drives, looking like the heartbeat, physical runner, setting the tone, got tons of props from Liam Cohen for the physicality he ran with. I'm not convinced that this won't be a Tuten takeover within the next couple of weeks. And Etienne's played very well. This isn't to be any shade on him. I just think Tuten's a little bit more of a physical guy. And we haven't even seen like the lightning from him. We're talking about a guy with 4.3 speed that could rip off a 70-yard. He was a shoestring tackle away twice last week from like 70-yard runs. So I love what Tuten brings to the table. He's got so much upside. I still go Tucker here, but Tuten is very, very close there for me, Yek. Snap got the juice. 2 flex. I do think we had a super chat snap, so I will be back with you after baggers. Up to 15 super chats. You guys are very, very kind and generous today. Half PPR. Tez Johnson, Hollins, or Michael Carter baggers. We are in the absolute weeds here today. I mean, I'd probably go. So here's the risk with these guys. Mac Hollins, you have Booty returning, and Mac Hollins has been awesome. If Booty was out, maybe Mac Hollins, no-brainer for me. But I think Booty takes those snaps. You got Diggs still in there. Do they play both Booty and Hollins? That's kind of the same role. And I have Booty as the guy over Mac Hollins in terms of my rankings. Maybe not. Maybe Hollins has earned his way in there. Then you got Godwin coming back, played 91 and 79% of the routes last time out there, last 2 games. So Tez gets a significant bump down. Michael Carter sucks. Maybe he's the best bet for volume here, but the Jags are a very good run D. I think the script will not favor Cardinals backs today. Oh, man. I'll toss out a handful of names. Baggers, if you're asking about these guys, they're probably not out there, but Darius Slayton, love the guy. Yoshevats should be the wide receiver 2 today. Chimere DK is out there in a lot of leagues, and they should be trailing and need to throw. I would probably play all of those guys over them. Now, if it has to be one of these 3, I'd probably go Mac Hollins and just hope like his good play has earned himself. He's always got touchdown upside. He's a big body, good blocker. He'll be out there at some point. Tez, of course, has the deep ball. Plus, he's very slippery in the red zone. Like what he can do there. But with Godwin back, I really just do question. He already did nothing last week without Godwin. I do worry about Godwin's return there. Let me toss out Jalen Coker as well. 49ers very much struggle against the slot. Not getting pressure at all against the passers. They're going to need points. So I would toss out Coker and Chimere DK as guys I'd have above any of these 3. But if it has to be one of these 3 baggers, I would probably lean Hollins. Don't love it, though. So I would go Chimere DK or even Jalen Coker more so over those guys as potential toss-ins. Slayton mountains above both these guys if he's somehow out there. Drop my kicker Dicker number 1 for Tuten. Yes. Yep. Absolutely no reason to ever roster 2 kickers, especially Jose Rodriguez. If there's an electric talent like Bhayshul Tuten sitting out there, I don't know if you guys saw it on my Twitter, but I thought it was funny. I'm a lame type of person, but I tweeted out a picture of the remember the Titans coach speech and said, putting Bhayshul Tuten in the flex, and I had a picture of him with that intense face and said, you make sure they remember forever the night they played the Tutens. I know it's stupid, but I loved it. And it's gotten some decent Twitter love from you guys. I think 1,000 or so likes on it. Tuten's the absolute man. Yes, I love Dicker too. Don't get me wrong. He is the type of kicker that you have to consider rostering, but only if there's not a talent through his bye week, I meant to add. But that's assuming there's not a talent like Bhayshul Tuten sitting out there. I'm so heavily invested in Tuten that maybe I'm just blinded by that. But this is the same type of thing we saw with Liam Cohen and Bucky Irving. Slowly ramp up, and then boom, when he finally takes off, he took off big. I could see it happening for Tuten. And we have those shoulder injuries racking up for Etienne. Tuten himself, not the picture of health with an ankle injury too, but both off the injury report. Yeah, you got to see what Tuten does this week, Jose. I would definitely drop my kicker for him. King Retros, thank you so much for the super chat. Half PPR, DK Metcalf, Wandale, Ricky Pearsall, or Kayshon Boutte. We need two of them. I got to go DK Metcalf and Wandale for this one. I do think that we're going to get a ton of targets to Wandale in that comeback mode style script for the Giants. I think last week was very disappointing in terms of Jameis Winston usage. I think we get the classic Jameis game this week and tons of slinging, maybe some picks, definitely some touchdowns and big plays as well. DK Metcalf has been, I called him one of the busts entering the year. And, he's had a few eruption games, so it's hard. Like when you look at the total points, wide receiver 28 on the year, hard to call him necessarily a bust. But then you look at the boom or bust nature of it, plus recently a lot of bust. 14 in week 8 was let's talk about the last 5 games, 6.5 and half PPR, 14, 1.6, 5.0, 7.4. Now, maybe you're hoping, Mason Rudolph, we've seen him come in and actually sling the ball a little bit deeper, take some shots. Rodgers is just so reluctant to take hits that he does not let any of that deep stretching stuff play. So either way, DK's above Pearsall and Boutte for me, most likely. I don't know. I did just gush about how much I love Boutte as the deep ball guy. With Boutte, though, I do want, if he was healthy through this whole stretch, I would be probably playing him. The risk is it's his first game back. Hollins looked well. Diggs is now running the highest route share of the season. Plus, this is a defense you just run all over as well. So I'm going to go with Metcalf and Wandale here. Pearsall, love the player. Very intrigued coming into the year, how he would look, how he would do. Looked a little nimble out there. Looked healthy. Panthers, bottom 7 matchup for wide receivers, though. Jennings and Kittle definitely ahead of him. Obviously, McCaffrey as well. I'm going to go Wandale and DK. Those are the two DK Metcalf, that is, that I trust the most from that list. All righty. We left off with Droid. We were at Yek, where we were asking, thank you again so much, guys, by the way. 17 super chats, very generous. 2,600 of you here. About a half hour left in the show. Let's get us to 3K. Would love it. A thumbs up on YouTube, a heart button on Twitter. You haven't hit it already. What are you waiting for? Help your boy out. And, of course, check out rotostreetjournal.com for my running back analysis, for CJ's stashes. And, of course, the rankings will be live up there as well. So Tuten, we already did this. Tuten for the flex, and then Goddard for even if you already have AJ, I'm still going to go Goddard for that one. Snap, people keep jumping you with super chats. I will get to you, brother. But Jeffrey Cooperman with your second super chat of the day. Thank you so much. PPR and 5 points. Oh, this is Levi C, if I'm not mistaken. I think that if I remember correctly, this one popped up. You're the man, Jeff. And Levi C, even more the man. What's going on? PPR and 5 points for 40-plus yard plays. Need 2. Sean Tucker or Trey Tucker? Sean Tucker for me. Addison, who hasn't been great, but feel like he missed on a few. Yeah, he did miss on a few big plays. I would go Tucker and Addison. As you say, you're just a handful away from a couple of those huge bonuses, those 5 points. Tucker can rip those in the run game. He's got such uncanny speed for his big size. Tucker, he had the okay day against the Cowboys. Everybody has okay days against the Cowboys. Cleveland defense, that game just feels disgusting. So I'm going to go with Sean Tucker and Addison for those ones. I mean, Trey versus Addison is very close. Tucker is the clear, Sean Tucker, I should say, is the clear top one for me here because he gives you that 40-plus play upside. Probably not against a tougher Rams defense, but you never know. He rips those things off. Either way, the heavy dose of him, all those positive reports. You've already heard me raving about him, Jeffrey Cooperman, throughout the show. So I like Sean Tucker, plus 8 ECR on him. And then with that big play bonus, I do think Addison is the one. Trey Tucker certainly can get those big plays going as well. But Cleveland, let me see what they're at in terms of – I know they're definitely a pass funnel because they're so good against the run, but I still think they're not a great matchup for wide receivers. So let me see. Yeah, 24th in terms of points allowed. That's a game I just don't want anything to do with. I don't want any weapons in there. So give me Sean Tucker, give me Addison for that one. Good sir. Thank you so much, Levi C. and Jeff for that. David Mock with a very generous $199. Thank you so much, Dave. I don't see your question, but my man here it says, does the Wolfpack know about your bidet punishment? They do not. I'll tell you this, and I'll hype myself up for this because I'm a man who honors the punishments, unlike certain people in my league that skimp over them. There was one bet. I get whatever. Everybody knows dumb things about me, so let's get one of the dumbest things I've ever had happen to me out of the way until we get to the rest of your questions, folks. So one aside bet I made, me, Dave, and a few other people, we had this place, an insane apartment that none of us belonged in, 4 stories, 3 bathrooms, just like crazy low rent out in Salem, Massachusetts. And the bottom floor bathroom had a bidet and a heated toilet seat nonetheless too. The heated toilet seat was amazing. I personally didn't use the bidet much. I know Dave Mock sat there and just bideted himself all day long. Even when he hadn't pooped, he just would like to sit on the bidet. It was kind of strange. Nonetheless, I lost a bet that it was a side bet for a weekly fantasy punishment that the loser had to stand and take 10-second blast of the bidet to the face. And so I did my time. I did my punishment. I'm sure there's a video somewhere out there. Not one that I will be posting myself. But yeah, blast of bidet water to the face. As somebody has to honor their punishments in our league. You got to be a man of honor. And it's very hard to be a man of honor when a bidet is hitting you square in the forehead. But I did honor it, Dave. You got to give me that. At least I didn't just sit there taking the bidet all day like you. But yes, there you go. Thanks, Dave, for the super chat to get that excellent nugget that everybody needed to know out there. But fun, if you guys ever had, that is a good segue. If you guys ever have some funny punishments, or you want to, to put your league mate's opponent pain on a bigger audience, I am always happy if you have something funny to share, a funny punishment from your history. Send it on in to me at Roto Street Wolf on Twitter. Comment it in on a stream. I'm always happy to help you guys shame your pathetic league mates, just as Dave's trying to do to me right now, and succeeding. Thanks, Dave. Greatly appreciate it, bud. All righty, we left off. That's the last super chat. Thank you again so much, guys, for your support, especially you, Dave Mock. Really, really kind of you. That is a funny one. I would have done the same thing in your shoes, no doubt about it. Snap Goat. Sorry to keep delaying you for bidet stories. 2 flex, no tight end PPR. I need to start 2 flex. My options are Hall versus Ravens, Dobbs, Pierce, Pearsall, Washington. Pick 2. I'm trying to think who Washington is, like Darnell Washington, the 311 Mount Washington tight end. Is that who we're talking about? Malik Washington, they're on bye. Must be Darnell. I would be going Breece Hall for sure. I know it's ugly, tough matchup. The Ravens defense really stiffening him up, but he's head and shoulders above these guys in terms of talent and still involved as a pass catcher. Maybe Tyrod Taylor, a little bit of dink and dunk action going on there. And I would go with Alec Pierce. He has been a beast these last few weeks. The Chiefs are very, very good at limiting the deep ball. And that is obviously one of his big strengths. But Pierce has shown, and he talked about this in the preseason, how he was hoping to evolve as a wide receiver, showcase that he could do more. We're talking about a guy in PPR. Oh, no tight end PPR. I don't even know what no tight end PPR means, but 15, 9, 18, and 18 in PPR leagues. His last 4 games, 7 before that, 11, 11. I mean, he really hasn't had that many duds, Alec Pierce. 11, 11, 7, 15, 9, 18, 18 points. Very, very solid there. So I'm going to go with Alec Pierce and Breece Hall for that one for you. Snap got the juice. Flex from Krana, PPR Deep League, Watson, Pearsall, Alec Pierce. We were just raving about Alec Pierce, and I'm going to keep the good times going there. And then I would start Spears over Corum. I don't love it at all, though. But there have been a couple big passing plays the Seahawks defense has allowed. By the way, 2,800 of you here, help us get over to that 2,000. Hit the thumbs up button on YouTube. Hit the heart button on Twitter. The likes, the shares, the retweets. Continue to help us grow, guys. And hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you here for the long haul. Pick 2 PPR. Pickens, Devontae, or T-Mac. Talking about 3 top 10 wide receivers. Brutal, Krana. Make a deal. Get a new running back, whatever it might be. But I have Pickens and Devontae the highest of these bunch. And then Ferguson or Pitts. I'm going to go with Pitts and attack that game environment. I think it should be Ferguson. I think that game should be a fun one today, that divisional matchup. Caleb Brissett or Purdy for 6-point passing touchdowns. I go Purdy very, very slightly, Krana, over Brissett. Very close for me. Mahomes or Hurts. I'm going with Hurts. I know 6-point passing touchdowns do favor Mahomes a bit more. But, man, you got Dallas. What a soft matchup for any quarterback. Henderson or Tucker, I got to go with Henderson, no doubt about it. The Bengals, talking about soft matchups. Best matchup for running backs for Henderson. Best matchup on the top 3, at least, for Hurts. I'm rolling with that. My quarterback 2 for the week. So, I'm sticking with him there. And then flex 1 PPR. I'm going to bump Mahomes down. Again, given his historic struggles against the Colts D coordinator, now they have a really good secondary. I'm not going to bump him down a ton, but I'd rather play Jared Goff for sure at home versus the Giants. I'd rather play Matthew Stafford at home versus Tampa Bay. So I'm bumping Mahomes below those guys at least. And then we need A.J. Brown, Michael Wilson, or Kareem Hunt. Thanks again, as always. Oh, I wish you could pick at least 2 of these guys, because you must have some beastly teams here. Krana Shaw. It comes down to Michael Wilson versus A.J. Brown for me. I'd have a hard time sitting A.J. Brown versus a Dallas defense. There's very big risk with this guy. The game flow, mentally out of the game, whatever it might be. Wasn't long ago he had 31 points against the Vikings just a couple of weeks ago. And then last week, 11 targets, 7 catches, force feeding him the rock. You get that type of volume against Dallas, and it should be an absolute show. So I do like A.J. Brown the most, very slightly over Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson is safer, higher floor, which is crazy. I'm saying that over A.J. Brown. I would rank them Brown, then Wilson, then Hunt. If you're let's say you're a 60-40 favorite right now, Krana, I'd probably just play it safe and go Michael Wilson there. And like and subscribe, y'all. Best in the biz. Thank you so much, Krana, for your shout out. I greatly appreciate it. Tunes needs a wide receiver and a flex full PPR. T. Higgins, George Pickens, A.J. Brown, Henderson, Jacobs if he plays. I would definitely be going – I go T and Pickens here. No brainer. Monstrous receiver core. Oh, you got Henderson, though? How is Henderson not starting for you? So, yeah, actually, you know what? I go Henderson, T. Higgins. And Pickens very, very close there. I'm putting Pickens above Justin Jefferson as we speak. Give me, though, T. Higgins, no Jamar Chase. He averages 94 yards per game. I think Flacco's at quarterback. It does skew those numbers. You don't know exactly what will happen there, but T's a baller, and this is a chance to kind of really thrive today. So I'm going to go T and Henderson. If you want to go Pickens over T, totally support it. Henderson's not fine on the bench for me. I know a lot of people are a little worried, it seems, about Rhamondre. He'll sniff the field, no doubt about it. He'll get in there because that's like Vrabel likes his committees. So does McDaniels for sure. But this is a genie you don't put back in the bottle. And even if they did, you need 10 touches to go nuts against this pathetic defense. I think a couple 60-yarders are on their way for Henderson. Apex 1-1-8-6. What up? Worthy or Tucker? I don't care what Tucker it is. It's going to be Tucker. If it's Sean Tucker, I feel even better about it. But if it's Trey Tucker, I'd rather have him than Worthy. And then Andrews or Otten, full PPR. I mean, now that we got Godwin back, that does ding Otten in my eyes because he was playing a lot of those shallow dink and dunk routes. I'd go for Andrews here. The Jets are a top 7 matchup for tight ends. He looks good. He's got, that touchdown run last week looked very explosive on it. I love Andrews. I know I've been calling him fat and useless all year, but over Otten, even more fat and useless. Neither of these guys are fat. Maybe they both plant me into the turf. We know that. I'd go Andrews, though, for that one. What's up, Ross H? Start Cade Otten or Juwan Johnson. As of this morning, I bumped up Juwan Johnson 4 spots, including above Cade Otten. So, yeah, I'm going Juwan, that Tyler Shuck rapport we got going on. DJ, what's up? Good morning. Happy Turkey Week. The best week of the year, baby. Let's go. Full PPR. And on that note, guys, I will be live Thanksgiving morning. I imagine right around the same time, 8 a.m. We'll see if there's any help needed in the morning, all that stuff. But I expect to be up at 8 a.m. We'll get a final confirmation. I'll tweet it out and all that good stuff. But we will do a Thanksgiving morning show, the best bets of the day. There's 3 good games to talk about. We'll break them all down. We'll have a good Thanksgiving show, no doubt about it. Full PPR, need a running back 2 and a flex. Chase Brown, Trevion, Kyron. Trevion is, again, head and shoulders above maybe the lowest guaranteed workload of this group. The matchup is crazy. If he gets the work he's already been getting, because you just can't take it away from him at this point, he'll go nuclear. I think he only needs about 12 touches to go nuclear against this defense anyways. So I see a high floor, high ceiling to Trevion this week. He's my favorite of the bunch. And then I go Kyron Williams. I'm not benching the guy. Such a good touchdown bet each and every week. And then, Chase Brown getting a Pats defense that, sure, they gave up a 57-yard day to Breece Hall and a 53-yard one to Tucker, but otherwise they have not given up more than 50 yards to a single back, including some absolute beasts. And Judkins, just that environment is so gross. Nothing happening there, as we've talked about. So give me Trevion, give me Kyron. Injury hell right now. Need 2 of these running backs, assuming Jacobs is inactive, half PPR. Or just 2 of these. They don't have to be backs. Parker Washington, Luther Bird, and Devin Singletary. We are in injury hell. Good Lord. We already talked about Luther Burden on the show. I love the guy. 62% of the routes took over for Zacchaeus. Explosive. Yak King. I think we start to really see that erupt in a great spot for him. Schematically, slot, Pittsburgh has always struggled against them, including this year. I love Luther Burden today, so I go him for sure, and I go Devin Singletary, I guess, and hope he falls in the end zone. I don't know. Those other ones are gross. Is Slayton out there? Otherwise, I go Singletary and hope for a touchdown. Full PPR, pick 1. Mike Wilson, Dobbs, Watson, Pierce. Oh, yeah, it's Mike Wilson for sure. He's a tier above the rest of these guys. Watson being the next closest, but give me him. Thank you again, Robbie, for that super chat as well. And then full PPR, Etienne, DK, Tracy, or Gainwell. Only reason, so the missing the 3 linebackers we talked about. If Warren was out, Gainwell would be a potential top 10 running back this week. In a timeshare, it makes it sketchy. I would go Etienne. They're both timeshare backs. At least Etienne's the clear lead one. They both have good matchups. Jags have just been funneling touches to their running back. So I like Tuten a lot, but I also even like the lead back even more in Etienne. Quincy Davis, Swift, Alec Pierce, or Godwin. I would be going Swift. Definitely not Godwin at this point when you have 2 good options there for sure. And guys, we are at the 20-minute mark with a very, very full mailbag. So I am going to go with a timer here. I'm going to go a 18-minute timer. We're at, or 20-minute rather. I'll go a little bit over today for you, good folks out there. Maybe we get through the whole thing, but I'm going to do a rapid fire because I want to try to get to as many questions as I can. We are just about 10 likes away, or 10 viewers rather, from 3,000. Would love to hit that number. So as we get into rapid fire mode, if you guys could hit that thumbs up button on YouTube, the heart button on Twitter, would mean the world. The likes, the shares, the retweets help us grow. And of course, check out rotostreetjournal.com. Every click helps us gain a little bit more money. Don't mean to sugarcoat it. Would love you guys to check out the rankings, check out the articles. It really does help us make some money. Alrighty, guys. On that note, rapid fire mode starts now. 20 minutes. Let's do this. Quincy Davis, Tuten, Tillman, Singletary. Definitely Tuten head and shoulders above the rest. Juan Pena, who for my wide receiver 2, 3, and flex spots. Got Adams at wide receiver 1. And then we Taylor Henderson. Nice lineup there. So we need a 2, 3, and flex from Tez Johnson, Parker Washington, Addison, Myers. Oh, man, I don't want to have 2 of these receivers in my lineup, but I would go Addison and Myers from that list. Charbonnet, Wilson, or Jacobs. If Jacobs is in, you go Jacobs. If Jacobs is out, you go Wilson. And I would pick up Godwin and drop Tez at this point for you, Juan. Reminder to super chat, if you want me to slow down and cut the line, you can still super chat just to make sure you get your question in. I should have said that in the promotion as well. And thank you again for the 19 super chats we got. Very kind and generous again, everybody that did that. Olave or Pickens, I'm going with Pickens there. Kind of outplaying Lamb so far, but I don't think he's better than Lamb. Either way, the fact that can happen on any given week, I go to Pickens on that one. Mason Taylor, Otten, A.J. Barner, or Fannin Jr. for Ronaldo. I would go with A.J. Barner. He's actually been pretty solid these last few weeks. Lost Tucker and Laporta. Gatson on bye. Need a tight end. Theo Johnson, Fannin, Barner, Loveland. I love Theo Johnson in that one. I think they're going to need to sling that thing today with Jameis. Should I start for Muhammad, Washington, Knight, Singletary, or Dortch? I, again, don't know who Washington is. It might be Darnell Washington. I would go with Knight as the lead back here and just hope for some volume. Start 2, Tuten, Hunt, Singletary, Tillman. It is definitely Quincy Davis, Hunt, and Tuten for sure for me there. Mark Schaffner, Pickens and Prescott, or Mike Wilson and Lawrence, full PPR. I like going certainly Prescott and Pickens. Yeah, definitely. They are lights out defense, but this is a lights out offense at home. I think they keep rolling. And thank you, Campanelli, for reminding people to not spam my man in the moderator chair there. The Mac Dog, good morning. JD5 out has had me perplexed at quarterback. By decision has him for Flacco, Bryce, or Shuck. Thank you. Your show is amazing. Thank you so much, Mac Dog. Hope you subscribe if you enjoy it and hit that like button. I would go with Flacco, though. The man has been slinging. The defense gives up points after points after points. As we talked about, 31-33, 39-38, and 47-42 before they got blown out by the Steelers 34-12 last week. And I think that's probably more likely the script is like Pat's roll 40-28 or something. You can still get some points from Flacco there. Either way, they're always trailing and needing to chuck because of it. Loveland or Fannin, I would definitely go Loveland there. Schaffner. We got Bleezy, Daniel Jones or Flacco. I would go Daniel Jones for that one. ETW Byrne. We got Swift, Rashad, Shaheed, Watson, Rhamondre at flex. I would go with DeAndre Swift for that one. Trey Tucker. Oh, yeah, Robert clarified that. I meant need wide receiver 2 and flex. I have wide receiver. Yep, so we answered that one too for you, Kristen. Steven Pereira, Monty Wandale, Sean Tucker, pick 1. I'm going with Sean Tucker, especially if you already have Gibbs in the lineup, and I would go with Dak over Purdy. Love the show. Thank you. Love that you're here, Robert. Thank you so much. But again, it's much love and respect to the Wolf. Thank you so much. Hard calls. Mahomes or Brissett, Goff, Rice, CD. So I would go Goff for the quarterback. Rice, CD, Mike Wilson. So you got to go with CD Lamb. Running back tragedy, Rico, Chase, or Judd. I love Rico. That's not a tragedy. I would definitely go with Rico there. So I don't know how many you need there, Naganist, but I would go Rico as my favorite, Lamb, then Rice as my top 2 receivers, and Goff as my favorite quarterback. Pick 2, Charbonnet, Tuten, or White. I would be going with Tuten and Charbonnet there, Mr. Lucky. Tyler Warren, Kittle, and Ibuka. I would go with Ibuka and Kittle there, Mr. Lucky. And one more time for Mr. Lucky. Ken Walker or Charbonnet. Definitely Ken Walker as the role gets to pick up. He's certainly the more explosive back for sure. Ian McNabb, PPR, pick 2 receivers, Burden, Yoshi, Slayton, Tez, or Addison. I would go with Addison, and I'd probably go Burden very slightly over Slayton there. Singletary or Bam Knight. I'm going Bam Knight, Mr. Lucky. Cooler hand if Worthy doesn't play. Yoshi, Charb, or Algier. I'd go Charb either way. Good enough, sir. I don't know what you were asking, Austin, but I hope I got it. Sounds like it was good enough for you. Emmanuel, yeah, the nail paint. I mean, come on. Judkins or Warren for running back 2 for Shale of Gaming. I would go with Warren over Judkins. That's just such a bad environment for the Browns. Jawan Johnson or Ferguson. I'm going to go Ferguson, but maybe I'm just clinging to these touchdowns of the pass. Have a nice Sunday, Wolfie. Thank you so much, Stephen Weber. Hope you have a great Sunday as well. Nicholas Phillips, Caleb Williams, or Love. I'm definitely going Caleb Williams. I know I laughed about the nail paint, but Jordan Love just blows. Cameron Cosma. Yo, good morning. Good morning to you, good sir. Heck Blends. What defense is good for today? Packers, Lions, Raiders. Oh, I love all of them. I'm going to go with the Packers. That's my 4, 5, and 6, legitimately in order, Heck Blends, if I'm not mistaken. Tootin Tucker or Hunt, pick 2. I'd be benching. I'm assuming it's Sean Tucker, so I'm going to go. This is brutal because I have all these guys right neck and neck. I'd go Sean Tucker and Tootin, though, for the upside, Cameron. And if it's Trey Tucker, then I would go the 2 running backs. Hunt and Tucker, despite the matchup. I got to go Tootin, I think, today. He's got so much upside. You're welcome, sir. Jordan Love, I don't know about that. Just having some. Yep, we got there. Tech difficulties, as people are pointing out. Thank you guys again for those that stuck it out. Chicago defense banged up 3 linebackers. So, yeah, I'm definitely excited to see that offense out there. Henderson is absolutely still a must start. You're facing the Bengals. He could get there on 10 touches. He's my running back 7 +4 ECR. Jose's got Barkley, Swift, Monungai, Tucker. So let's get to the question here. Wilson, Puka, AJ Brown, Yoshi, Burden need 3 wide receivers is what it looks like. So I would go with Puka. I'd go with Michael Wilson. I'd go AJ Brown for there. Great stuff. Regardless, thanks, brother. Flex spot, full PPR. Booty, Otten, Tootin, Monungai. I would be going with Tootin for sure. Love me some Tootin there. Who do I bench? Adunze or AJ Brown or JMO? I'd bench Adunze of that group. Henderson or Chase Brown, I would do 100% Henderson there. Adunze or JMO, I am going JMO, Adam Levitt. So I go JMO and Henderson. JMO, the wide receiver 2 since Dan Campbell started taking over play calling. Mobbin, PPR, sit 1. Emanuel Wilson, Judkins, Kyron, Jalen Warren. I would go you got to sit 1. I would sit, if Jacobs plays, it's Emanuel Wilson. Probably Emanuel Wilson either way. Henderson and so somebody's helping to answer. Dude, you're awesome. Overcome, you are awesome as well. Thank you so much for that super chat earlier. I greatly appreciate it. I have a problem on who to flex. Let me know the options, good sir, Basshead. We will get to it. I see it down there later. Mario, better start at running back. Ken Walker, Kamara, Emmanuel Wilson, or Tracy. I love Ken Walker the most out of that bunch. I appreciate you, Heck Blends. I'm not going to keep pulling your comments up. I love that you're helping people in the chat. You seem to know, me and you are aligned in most of these answers, by the way. Keep doing it. I love the chat helping each other out. Watson, Pierce, or Sean Tucker. I'm going Sean Tucker, baby. PPR, that's for Basshead. Mobbin, sit 1. Javante, Genti, Emmanuel Wilson, JMO. I'm sitting Wilson either way there. And I am worried about Cleveland D, no doubt about it. But yeah, I would still sit Wilson there. Jose Rodriguez, 2 receivers, 1 flex. Michael Wilson, Jennings, Tet, Judy, T. Warren, Godwin. So for the receivers, I'm going Michael Wilson, and I'm going Tet for sure. And then for the flex, I'm going to go Ty Warren. Mooney or Kyle Pitts for flex. I would be going with Kyle Pitts over Mooney Basshead. Alk Rott, need a flex pick. Jawan Johnson, Tillman Judy, Parker Washington, or Burden. I go Burden. I really like the Burden to break out this week. I do. I'm going Barise over Tuten. Anyone else fading Ricky Pearsall? Told me Greg Dortch over Pearsall. I'd probably go Pearsall over Dortch. I would not be fading it. Our Cannabis with a $5 super chat. We'll take a breath. We'll pause. We'll get a quick water. All righty. Hurting against Houston D. Yeah, brutal. That's crazy. Your opponent started against Allen, but good start by them. Sergeant Schultz. Oh, man. So you are over Mr. Fat and Slow. I actually did have Mr. Fat and Slow, and I think useless is the word you're looking for there, our Cannabis. He actually looked pretty speedy on that touchdown last week. I did have Fat and Useless above Schultz, who's even more fat and useless than Andrews. So we need Hunt, Singletary, or grab Knight off the waiver wires. So none of these guys have a ton of upside. To me, I got to go Kareem Hunt and hope for a 2-touchdown day, though. He averages right around 14 points per game without Pacheco in the lineup across the last 2 seasons. He's been really solid. He looks slim. He's playing good ball. He doesn't have a super high ceiling, but Singletary's awful. Knight's awful. And neither of those guys, those are 2 tough matchups. The Colts are all 3 of these are tough matchups. So give me the guy in the best offense, and that is far and away Kareem Hunt as a near every down back these days without Pacheco in there. I am definitely going Kareem Hunt. I have him the highest out here, our Cannabis. Good. Thank you so much again, good sir, for your super chat. I really, really appreciate it. So Grok does not know what it's talking about. You should go Ricky Pearsall. I mean, maybe Dortch. I don't know, but we'll see. All right, back to the rapid fire. One last call. 3,200 of you for that thumbs up button. We have exactly 10 minutes left of the show. So one call for that thumbs up button, the heart button on Twitter, YouTube. If I'm answering your questions, please do consider helping your boy out. The free way to do it is just a thumbs up or a like. It means the world. And of course, checking out rotostreetjournal.com for these rankings when I post them right after the show. Flex full PPR, Breece Hall, Shaheed, Warren, Judkins, Worthy. I would be going with Breece Hall over those other options, good sir. One. Ray, 19, Red Sox, Tet McMillan, Chase Brown, Trevion Henderson. I'm going Trevion, and I'm going Tet McMillan of those 2, Bench and Chase Brown. Great options there, Ray. I'm going with Pitts over Mooney there. Loop or Santos. I would go with Loop over on that one. Basshead, Gabinelli, we watched for these guys. You're going in timeout, Basshead. I appreciate you here helping answer people's questions, but can't ask your question 3 million times there. Dak or Purdy, I'm going Dak over Purdy very, very slightly. Purdy's probably safer, honestly. I might change that in my rankings as we speak. I'll be looking at that one for sure. I would drop your kicker for Tuten. Yes. Let's go Pats indeed, Pod Son. Hell yeah. Love this team. Let's go, baby. I'm not hiding that one at all. I need a flex, Adunze, Wilson, or Tracy. I would be going with Adunze, even if Jacob sits. I'd go Adunze there. Warren, Jones, Wilson, you need 2. I'm going with Aaron Jones and Jalen Warren for that one. Sean Tucker or Pollard, 110% Sean Tucker. Cut Pollard. You do not need him on your team. We got a lot of Pats fans. Let's go. Let's go indeed. Yes, you should drop your kicker and stop asking a question. Yo, chat, that thumbs up for my boy. Been cooking all season. Robbie Kamikaze, thank you so much for your kind word, good sir. Joshua Hidalgo, Spears, Parker Washington, or Jawan Johnson. I'm going Jawan, baby. Montgomery or Judkins. Montgomery for me. I think he has at least 1 touchdown, if not 2. Against that pathetic Giants defense. Andrew, and that's for Paulie Buckets. Andre Ope, start 3 with a sad face. Watson, I can see the sad face. Watson, Parker, Washington, Trey Tucker, Booty, and Alec Pierce. I would do exactly what you do right there, Andrew. I'd keep it exactly as you have it. It's not that. I mean, you have fine backup plans, and they all have eruption potential there. White or Booty. I would go with Booty, Tom Jackson. Hope for the deep ball. Tucker, Pearsall, or Myers with Sean Tucker. I see here. I'm going Sean Tucker, no doubt, Michael. Wolf, been here since day one. So happy to finally see you getting the views you deserve. Keep building. Thank you, Fatty Mateo. I recognize you, brother. Of course I know you've been here for day one. You're the absolute man, Fatty. Full PPR, DJ Moore. You always have something funny to say. Nothing here today, I guess. But I always love your funny comments, too. They make me chuckle. DJ Moore, Christian Watson, or any sleeper you prefer. I'd go Christian Watson. Slayton is the sleeper I'd toss out there, but I still would go Watson over him, I think. Milk God, full PPR flex, Mooney or Slayton. I'm going Slayton over Mooney, Milk God. Huge Slayton guy, and I just don't believe in Mooney or Kirk Cousins. They're both banged up, and Cousins just sucks. Jennings or Michael Wilson? I am going with Michael Wilson, good sir. Brissett, Tuten, Patriots. You probably answered somebody's questions. There you go. Should I drop Cortland Sutton and pick up Tuten? Streaming Michael Wilson because 3 receivers on bye. Drop Wilson next week and grab Troy Franklin or Sutton, whoever is available. Yeah, I want Tuten, so I would pick him up and see what happens for sure. Good morning, Wolf. You're the man. Thank you so much, Blunt Brush. Baker or Brissett? I would be going. I have him quarterback 10 and 11. I go Baker myself, quarterback 7 back-to-back weeks. I lean into that. We got Jesus with a super chat. And my man Campanelli pulling it up for us. Dowdle or Hall? I am going Rico Dowdle for sure. I know he's the upside. He's a little cat these last few weeks, but San Fran very light in the D front right now. Struggling defense since losing the heart and soul in the middle there. So I like Rico Dowdle, my running back 8 for the week, in a much tougher matchup there for that. And then we're struggling at tight end, half PPR, Njoku, Parker, Washington, or Noah Fant. Again, I don't like any of these guys. Parker Washington, you must be talking about Darnell Washington if it's tight end. I'd probably actually go Darnell and just roll the big man off the bus and hope he intimidates your opponents. But I'll toss out there A.J. Barner, well ahead of all those guys. Colston Loveland, of course, above everybody we've talked about. He's probably not there. But A.J. Barner out there in 90% of leagues. Chigo Konku, I'd toss out there over any of those guys. And I'd even toss out Brenton Strange, returning to the lineup, top 12 spot, had 6 targets in back-to-back weeks. So before he getting hurt, Okonkwo could lead this team in targets as well for the Titans today. And the Seahawks have really struggled against tight ends. So I go Okonkwo. I go AJ Barner, Okonkwo, and Brenton Strange over any of the 3 you suggested. But if it has to be one of those 3, I would go with Washington. And then Phil, thank you so much for the super chat. You often do, and I really, really appreciate it. It's not unnoticed. Darnold or Brissett, flex Mooney or Worthy or Hollywood Brown. I would be going Brissett for sure. Top 12 quarterback at minimum in every single week so far that he's started. I believe he's been over 20 points in all but one game, and that one game was 19. The guy's been killing it, and it's a good spot against the Jags, a very much pass funnel defense. Tough to run on them, easy to throw. I'm going with Brissett in comeback mode after setting the record for completions. They're really letting him sling out there, and he looks solid. And then flex Mooney or Worthy or Hollywood Brown. I'll tell you, I don't love Mooney. I'd rather have Slayton in my lineup. But of these options, I would go with Darnell Mooney and just hope him and Cousins can rekindle some of that magic from last year. Neither one really looks like the player they were. But of these options, I'd go Mooney. But again, I'll toss out, I'd rather have Luther Burden. I'd rather have Darius Slayton as some guys to consider, Phil, instead of Worthy or Hollywood Brown or Mooney. I have all 3 of those guys. I'd rank them Luther Burden, then Darius Slayton as some potential options for you above Darnell Mooney. But if it has to be one of those 3, I would go with Mooney. Thank you guys again so much for the super chats. We're down to the last 4 minutes here. So if you do need a guaranteed answer, I don't know that we're going to make it through the whole mailbag. A super chat would be the way to guarantee it. But we left off with Mike Luva. Vladdy Daddy, drop Worthy for Jaden Reed. Yes, I absolutely would. Screw Worthy. He's a roster clogger. Tucker or Tuten. Assuming it's Sean Tucker, I go Sean Tucker slightly over Tuten. Bold take. Sanders plays well, and Judkins is 100 total yards. Robbie, maybe. Could certainly happen. Raiders aren't a great defense. Maybe it does. But I last week he looked so bad. Pitts or Theo Johnson. I'm going Pitts very, very slightly over Theo Johnson. PP ran. Davo, Jefferson, Diggs, Igbuka, Michael Wilson, Alec Pierce. Need 2 receivers and a flex. I'm going Diggs. I'm going Igbuka. I'm going Jefferson very begrudgingly over Michael Wilson. Very close, though. Would you drop Singletary for Slayton? Yeah, Singletary's useless in my eyes. We're looking forward to seeing how Judy looks. I'm definitely looking forward to see how it happens. Sure. Addison versus Min or LB3 versus Pitts. I would go, I have Addison higher, and I actually want to bump Burden ahead of him. I think I'm going to by the end of this. Let's go Burden, baby. Drop Shaheed or Parker Washington for Burden. Parker Washington is who I would drop Giuseppe. Either one, but yeah, I would drop him. And then so I agree with Laddie. Jennings or Michael Wilson? I'm going Michael Wilson after an 18 target, 15 catch a day for me. I'm going to go Luther Burden there. Loveland or Burden? Ooh, love them both. I'm going Burden there. Sean Tucker or Bam Knight? It is easily Sean Tucker for me. Z Rude. Tuten versus Myers. I'm going with Bhayshul Tuten. They definitely like to attack through the backs there as well. Wandale or Juwan Jennings? I'm going to go with Wandale in that one as they throw to keep up with the Lions. Start 2, Mooney, Jordan Addison, Ricky Pearsall. I think I would bench Ricky Pearsall there. No interest in Mooney. I agree with Rob. He was set up for a huge game and didn't show up last time. Good morning, payday fool. Tuten or Sean Tucker, PPR. I would go with Sean Tucker very slightly over him. Pooty, rocket everywhere. Indeed it is. Inside, what is the bar packed up for the winter? I don't know. Let's go, Pats. Indeed, index of suspension. LFG, baby. This is the best team. I really like Booty, Roto Street. Yes, indeed. Accurate on all accounts, the player in life. Etienne, Brown, or Warren. Pick one. I would go with Etienne of that bunch. Great matchup and great usage of they just, again, 33 expected fantasy points to the backs. Etienne or Tucker, I'm going to go Etienne. I love Tucker. Brees over Tuten, I would go Brees very slightly there. Tucker risk with Bucky. Bucky's not back yet, maybe next week. Xavier Worthy has a deep, Tyquan Thornton's better. He really is. Rico Dowdle and a Dunze for Walker and Waddle. I would probably pull that trigger without thinking about it. Hello, Wolf. Should I start Trey Tucker or Tyrone Tracy? I would go with Tracy, I guess. Don't love it, but I'd go with Tracy. Etienne or Tucker. I would go with Etienne over Tucker. Bucky is expected to come back next week for sure. DK, Wandale, Ricky Pearsall, Kayshawn Booty. Pick two. I would go with DK and I would go with Wandale. We got our cannabis coming in with a super chance. Always with the jokes. Lieutenant Dan is faster. Lieutenant Dan is faster than Andrews, and he ain't got no legs. I love it. Settle it. Trade Olave for Walker the third. I'd rather have Olave in a vacuum. I love what Shuck. I really was encouraged by what Shuck was putting on tape. Seems like he will be peppering Olave still in the slot there. Walker definitely a bit more inconsistent with Charbonnet. Seems like he is elevating, taking over. I will say this, our cannabis, if you're desperate for a running back and you got to get something, and like Olave is your wide receiver 3 or 4, and you got great depth, it's not a horrendous trade, but I certainly like Olave rest of season more than I like Walker. And that's with Walker rising. I do like Walker. I just really, really like Olave so far for the rest of the year, granted with what I've seen from Shuck. Alrighty. Last time Godwin was on the pitch count, he missed multiple games this season. Yeah, that's true. When you do for love, you deserve money. Thank you so much. Good, sir. Alrighty. We got last time okay. As bad as it gets, half PPR, need final flex. Tez Johnson, Matt Collins, Michael Carter. Oh yeah, you super chatted that one. We gave you some other options. That is the timer, folks. Thanks for the hard work. Well, everybody needs to be hitting that like button. Thank you so much. As everybody's saying, start Tet as well. You definitely got to start Tet. But on the way out, 3,400 of you. We got to a great number today. Not the record, but not too far off. Definitely a top 5 day in terms of live views with us. You guys are the best. On your way out, please do consider hitting that thumbs up button, the heart button. 23 super chats. You guys are so kind and generous. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. These rankings will be published very shortly after this stream with all the different things that have risen and fallen throughout this show. So check out rotostreetjournal.com for all the live updates. I am so happy again and thankful to have so many awesome people coming in each and every week. 8 a.m. every Sunday morning. We will be hitting this. Thanksgiving Day, plan on 8 a.m. as well to start your day. Maybe you're recovering from your hangover from the night before, that Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I know it's gotten some people used to get me. I'm too old now for that stuff. But you guys are the best. Thank you again so much. And in a world full of fancy sheep, guys, be that wolf. Later.